Welcome to the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson here with my friend, partner, and 2007 World Worm Charming Champion, co-host extraordinaire, Wes Brown.
Todd, God, you're digging deep when you hear 2007 Worm Charmer. Man, that takes me back to a long time ago.
I know.
That's kind of a rare thing. Nobody ever talks about worm charming, but it is a thing, usually in the Far East. You know, you don't see too many American teams, but, when I was in Okinawa, I got introduced to it in 1982 when I was in Okinawa, and then I went back in 2007. So anyway, take it for what you will. But yeah, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man.
And I got to, as you've probably seen from my Facebook posts, I got to do some pastels with my granddaughter, who's actually better an artist than I am. And she's only 8.
I saw that. 8. That was a cute picture you posted. Did
you see my Rothko attempt?
I did.
Yeah. As sad as it was fun to do. So we had blast though.
So I want to ask you about this experience real quick. So
yes.
2000 Worm Charming Champion, and it's also known as worm grunting or worm fiddling. So there's different techniques.
Right. Yeah. So I was
you actually are a charmer.
Yeah, well, I'm a charmer, but I implement some of the grunting. I've never done the whole fiddling kind of thing. That's just not my element. So I would grunt and charm them that way.
That's perfect. And especially the age that you are, right?
Yeah, right. Well,
I should say I shouldn't just throw you under the bus, the age that we are, because we're at an age where just putting on your shoes, you start to grunt. So
right. So that's how I kind of happened into that. I was kind of the precursor of the grunting movement in the worm charming sport, whatever. That's sport. I don't know. Events.
Yeah, it's a sport.
Yeah.
It's an obscure sport.
Very obscure. I don't even think you'll find it on Wikipedia. So
you can find it on Wikipedia. And this is how I found out that you were 2007 world champion.
Okay. Very good. I'll have to check my post and see if I'm on there. So
you are a Renaissance man.
I am. I try to do a little bit of everything. I never say no.
You're like that guy from the Dos Equis commercials. Anyway, should we get busy here?
Yeah, let's get back to reality.
Out.
Oh my God, I guess.
Our numbers just tanked.
Hey, why don't you tell us about our sponsor? Let's move on.
I'm going to do that. I want to take a moment and acknowledge our media sponsor, New Magazine. That's NUE. If you are on Instagram, you can follow the New National Edition at new_magazine and the Denver edition at new_Denver_magazine. If you've been listening to us the past couple of months, you know that this weekend, Friday evening, April 23rd through Sunday, April the 25th, New Denver is putting on Weekend of the Arts at the historic Zhang building located at 1553 Platt Street here in Denver. The Zhang building will be home to New Space Pop-Up Gallery and will feature music, live painting, AR, jewelry, and fashion, artists, presentations, and of course, art. Featured artists include Issy Solomon, Monica Curiel, Remy Valentine, Cynthia Berg, Emily Rohn, Christina Davies, Matt Joshua, Brooke Einbender, Maki Tashima, and Derek Carpenter. This event is free and open to the public, with the exception of Saturday evening when there will be a ticketed fashion show from 7 to 10 p.m. Details can be found on our Tenet Facebook page. Scroll down, find the link that will take you to the Eventbrite page where all times, artists, and their Instagrams are listed. All COVID guidelines will be in place, so comb your hair, grab a mask, and come out and enjoy some art, some music. You want to do it because staring at your own walls is incredibly boring and so 2020. Wes will be in town and we'll be roaming around checking out the events. So if you come down and happen to see us, come over and say hello. We've both been vaccinated and we'll be wearing masks and we'd love to meet you. We're easy to spot. Wes looks like somebody's grandpa because he is somebody's grandpa. And I look like the poster boy for Arrested Development, not the group, but the definition. So come say hello and we'd be happy to see you.
And bring some worms and I'll charm them.
Oh, yes. On the spot?
I will charm them on the spot. That is a thing. I didn't know that. That was... Who would have thunk worm charming? I'm definitely intrigued now.
It's big in Great Britain.
I guess.
It's crazy English.
So the gig is up. They know I've never worm charmed in my life, which is fine. All right. Tell us about our guest.
On to the art. Our
Yes.
guest this week is a phenomenally talented young artist that is on an upward trajectory. We're incredibly excited to talk with him. You can check out his work on Instagram. His Instagram handle is Grave Daisy. That's Grave Daisy, or via his website, candydeth.com. That's CANDYDETH.com. Welcome to the podcast, Richard Ingersoll. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing so good. Thank you guys so much for bringing me on.
God, you're a saint putting up with Todd. That was a long intro. Oh my God, I almost fell asleep.
It was good.
Yeah, but it was important stuff to hear.
Especially the worm charming stuff.
The worm charming stuff.
I just
got a
picture
little
like
long.
the warlock fisherman on the beach, like putting his hands up and worms are just like coming up out of the mud. He feeds an entire village.
I think we should commission that piece.
That should be a piece.
Do you remember the book Dune or the movie with Sting? They
were
were kind of worm charmers.
Yeah, that's true. Those gigantic sandworms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never actually like saw the David Lynch Dune, but I loved that Jodorowsky's Dune. Have you guys seen that?
I have not.
It's really cool. It's like a documentary about director Alejandro Jodorowsky, who did like The Holy Mountain and Santa Sangre and all these like super bizarre like art films, right? And then it's such a crazy story. He was going to do Dune, and he put like 3 years into it. Like everybody involved on the project had to move to this mansion in France, and he had like a different band doing music for each planet and stuff. Like Pink Floyd was in there, Magma, bunch of crazy artists he had involved with it. Like Salvador Dali was gonna act in it for $200,000 a minute.
Oh my God.
that was his conditions. Was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I need $200,000 a minute. So Yoda was like, all right, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring you in and I'm gonna like do a life cast of you, and we'll pay you for that time, and then your robot is going to be in the movie. It's really worth watching. Really crazy story. It was the first like sci-fi movie, really, and everything that he did for that kind of became Alien and Star Wars and Star Trek, and like it just like splintered off into what we know as sci-fi. It's pretty crazy.
Wow, what was that guy's name again?
Alejandro Jodorowsky. It's called The Jodorowsky's Dune. You guys should definitely check it out. It's amazing.
I will check that out. That sounds really interesting, fascinating. Let's talk about what you do, man. So talk a little bit about the mediums that you work in and what kind of work you do to make money with your art.
Yeah, so my main medium is oil painting. That's just what I've gravitated to over the years. And that's what brings in money is oil painting. I mean, some digital stuff here and there. I use those two kind of like in tandem sometimes, but yeah, oil painting. And I like to make just really weird shit. I love going into a piece without really planning too much what I'm gonna paint, and I'm more kind of trying to like dial in on like a feeling that I have and trying to see it reciprocated with what I'm seeing in front of me, which is usually just pretty busy and or bizarre things,
You said that exact same thing that in Metrosphere, where in an interview you did, that you don't really pre-plan. You kind of just come to the canvas and let it expose itself while you're in process. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like I know a lot of artists do like studies and stuff, and I do a little bit of that. And sometimes I might return to an idea, but like generally speaking, once I've like explored the idea thoroughly, I'm done with it. I want to like get into another idea, like what's coming off the coattails of that one. You know what I mean? So yeah, and then it's kind of like it kind of becomes, when I'm approaching it like that, it kind of becomes like a dialogue with my subconscious a little bit, because I'm not like actively thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to paint. I'm kind of just like touching the tip of the iceberg of my subconscious by just kind of letting things happen. I might make some random marks and see something and pull it out that then, knocks down some dominoes on a narrative. And then that will start to inform what's going to be in the painting. Like, I know a lot of artists say this, it's kind of like a cliche thing, but like letting the piece kind of inform me what it needs, because the story kind of comes out of it. And it really doesn't feel like it's coming from me. It just is like happening.
Yeah, I hear writers say that a lot too, that a lot of them approach it basically a blank page, or they may have a general idea and then the story unwinds as they're writing. And I think that's interesting because it does. And almost, I would imagine, I'm not a writer or a painter, but I would imagine if you approach it that way, it does kind of feel like it's coming from somewhere else.
Right. And then later on down the road, I might look back and be like, oh, that imagery makes complete sense with where I was mentally at that time. So even though it didn't feel like it was coming from me, it was like the most current in the moment version of me that I may have not even been totally cognizant of,
Wow, that's really cool. That's a really psychological aspect of it then, where your subconscious like exposes where you were at that moment. That's really neat.
Right. And that's kind of how it becomes. It is like super psychological, and that's kind of how it becomes almost like therapeutic, even if I'm not understanding the message in the moment, when I'm dialing in on like reflecting that feeling, like I was saying, there is like a therapeutic, calming, meditative kind of focus that kind of gets synthesized there.
Yeah.
The psychological part of these pieces that you do, you actually are pretty well read in the realm of psychology. Yeah. You studied psychology?
I mean, I don't want to like feign that I'm like a scholar with it, but I really like, I was in school for human behavioral sciences, dream psychology of dying. Like, I like that the more ethereal side of psychology. So like Carl Jung was like, reading some of his stuff was like a big influence on me, the psychological archetypes that like appear in stories over and over again, which Joseph Campbell also touches on in like the hero's journey or whatever. Just these certain symbols that are almost like it's almost like a map of the human psyche, like they appear over and over again. Like you get Merlin and Gandalf and like Dumbledore, you have like the wise old man archetype, and there's these different characters that pop up that exist beyond the narrative they're existing in when you see them. It like goes a little deeper into like just the human psychology at large, and so getting super heavy into that, those are kind of the things I use to navigate, not when I'm not planning these pieces, like when a narrative starts happening and I'm looking for something to respond to another object or of the painting, I kind of like tap into that and start thinking about that. Like, what are the like pieces of the narrative? What's missing? What does it need? Like, what's being called and what needs a return? You know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of it heavily rooted in psychological thinking for sure.
You can definitely see that. And I think that's what I like about your work. Not to mention that you're not afraid to go to the dark places, and always like the dark places.
Yeah. Yeah, dark places and some taboo stuff. Like some stuff I'm painting, and I'm like, this shouldn't be in a painting. Like nobody should know that I'm like thinking about this, But I almost take that as kind of like, when I feel that way, I almost have to act on it, Like if I'm feeling nervous about it, then I'm probably on to something, Did
it take you a while to kind of tune into that, to realize that if you're actually addressing some kind of issue or thought, to put yourself out there, that you're actually on the right path?
It definitely did. Yeah, it took a while to like dial into that, because starting out, you kind of like copy those who you like. For example, just in my own experience, like people who got me into painting, I wanted to do stuff like they were doing, because I'm like, they're influencing me. When I sit down in front of a canvas, I'm like, what do I do? And those influences are the first thing that are popping up, When you're starting out, you don't have that your own like lexicon of imagery and whatever to draw upon. So you're like pulling from your influences, and bit by bit you start like finding your voice in what you're doing, and then pretty soon you get like a good arsenal of things you can draw upon that's you. And that can take a while. I mean, some people do it quicker. Some people, as soon as they start making art, they're there, you know, they can like identify with who they are and what they're doing. And some people, you know, it takes longer. It took me a while. It took me probably, I don't know, 7 years or something to like, once I really started focusing on like trying to find my voice and like doing that, it was probably like 7 or 8 years that I like would realize like, what vein am I like painting in? Like, is this me or am I echoing an influence, you know? And not that I want to like shy away from my influences and like disregard them and put them to the side, but I definitely want to start carving my own niche of imagery and stuff.
So like, who was a major influence of you when you first, let's say 5-6 years ago, that kind of pushed you towards this direction?
I had like seen an interview with this painter, Brian Smith, who does I actually have one of his original pieces right here.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah. That was a magazine cover for, I forget which publication, but I was just amazed, you know, like I'd been doing a pretty quote unquote psychedelic, you know, like trippy stoner kid stuff. And I was like, whoa, you can really get fluid with paint and start doing these other things. And it kind of turned me on to like, you know, I could explore some darker ideas and make it interesting. So he was a big one. And the interview that I saw was an excerpt from a documentary called I Like to Paint Monsters, which is about a painter named Chet Zar. And so Brian led me to Chet, and he was a huge influence on me as well. And I wound up doing a seminar with him at this tattoo convention in Arizona called Hell City. And it was there that I actually like learned how to paint. You know, I've been doing it my whole life, but it was there that I learned I was drawing with paint, not painting. You know, I was illustrating with paint. And, you know, there's some techniques I learned in that seminar that just completely set me down the path I'm now on, mastering the medium more. And then I could more easily get what I was thinking out onto the canvas or the page or whatever, you know? So it was Brian, Chet, Alex Gray was a big one when I was coming up. And then music too, like, cause you know, I'm listening to music all the time when I'm painting. And so there's huge influences with that, you know, of Montreal. It's like super eclectic, funky, bright, happy, like almost like this psychedelic pop. But then you like listen to the lyrics and he's just like psychotically depressed, you know? So it's this really weird combination of things. And I really like that aesthetic in the sound, in the music, you know? And you can tell now looking at my stuff, it's like super bright, but there's like more difficult concepts being talked about, you know? So I see that as a huge influence too. Like music's a big influence.
Yeah. So you paint or you listen to music while you paint then, I imagine, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always listening to music or, you know, watching movies. I'll have movies on and stuff too.
We've talked about this with another artist, but to get in that same, like if let's say you don't finish a piece in a single sit down, do you listen to the same music again to get back in that headspace?
Oh yeah. It's kind of annoying sometimes because I'll like, you know, I'll be like shuffling through songs or something and then something plays that like the feeling in the song is so close to what I'm trying to achieve that I feel like I'm like pulling something out of the song. So I'll just like play it on repeat. And it'll start to get annoying. I'm like, fuck, I just have to get this painting. I'm so fucking sick of this song, you know? But it just feels so in tandem with what's coming out.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how our senses really can evoke different emotions in us. And I totally get that. I think that just totally makes sense. Yeah. And I want to say this too, looking at your stuff, you have a very distinct voice, and I think you could line up a bunch of different people's stuff. And as long as if you were aware of your artwork, you could pick your stuff out because it's very, very unique looking. I mean, there might be some substance that's similar to other people, but yeah, you have a very distinct, I think, visual voice, if you will.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's been the goal for a long time. And yeah, I do finally feel like within the last three or 4 years, I've like started to recognize my voice and trying to lean into that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then Todd and I kind of talked a bit ago, like, it kind of happened through like alter ego that I created. Right. So, I was living in Kansas at the time, didn't know anybody out there. And I was just, thinking a lot, and working and blah, blah, blah. And I started like noticing that I had like this almost physical impulse to like paint certain things that were just not a part of what I was doing. It did not feel like the same thing. And I was like, shit, if I start doing this, then I'm going to lose the audience that I had for this other work. And I was like, shit, what do I do? So I was like, oh, well, I'll just put it out as another person. I'll just be a different person, and I'll just start a new following for this other person, for this other work. And it was really, really fun for a while, some people, people didn't know it was me, so there's like a fun aspect to that. And I got a show out in Kansas as that person. And it didn't come to fruition, the gallery. Like, they had some problems with their curator and stuff. But eventually I was like, I'm putting too much work into this person that's not real. It's taking me so long to build the small following I had at the time. Like, I can't like restart now because I'm putting so much time to this. I'm not making any money. So I was like, shit, well, I'm just going to converge the people. And all of that was really just all these psychological acrobatics to arrive at who I am as an artist. It was like who I envisioned myself as, like this story I was telling myself, about what I was as an artist, meeting who I actually was, And so that's kind of how I arrived at like a lot of the imagery that you see, that style.
That's an interesting way of going about it. I mean, because everybody's personality is multifaceted, right? So you were tapped into this other part of your personality, and you wanted to make this work, or you felt the urge to make this work, and you followed that voice. But at the same time, you got caught up in whether or not you could actually sell this work.
Yeah. And I knew it was good. Like, I knew it was some of the best stuff I was making, just because, I just can't describe the like physical, it's almost a physical feeling, like in my solar plex, like that's what I'm feeling. That's it right there, And I knew it was good, and I knew it would sell, But it was start creating a person out of nothing and being like, hey, look, it takes a while to like snowball attention.
Yeah, I think.
So some of her posts, it was a female. Some of her posts were like, hey, I exist, like just because like that's what it was. That's what it felt like, And it was all this like, it felt like a joke, but it was like actually me as an artist, like arriving at myself.
That's interesting that you actually selected a female representation of yourself.
Yeah, and that had a lot to do with some of the subject matter of the work. At the time, I thought that was like going into the like Me Too movement and stuff like that. And I had just gotten out of like a crazy experience in a relationship, and was dealing with a lot of those feelings, And if someone didn't know how I had arrived at those thoughts and those ideas, it might come off like I'm saying these things about women in general. But I was really just dealing with a relationship in these pieces, So I was like, if it was a female painting these, it would have like an opposite, more empowering effect. But that was also the tricky part of it, because like saying that kind of ruins it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of pops the bubble a little bit.
Right. But I think that's brilliant. I think that's a brilliant idea. And I can totally see where even, writers use aliases all the time, just because I think it helps put them in a different space that's removed from themselves and allow them to explore things that maybe they're afraid to explore. I can definitely see that. Or doing a podcast where you're using a pseudonym so you can say things that you wouldn't say as yourself in fear of retribution or whatever, so I totally get that. And I think that's a brilliant idea and a good way to explore something that you're, like you said, a little apprehensive because you don't want to come across explaining the wrong thing or being misinterpreted.
Yeah, exactly. And that was definitely the idea. But yeah, and then it also kind of separates you from your life. And I've heard other artists talk about this too, like, they're afraid to make some work because they're like, my mom's going to see this, and it's like, what is she going to think? Like, this is her son. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, this person isn't her son. So this person can say whatever. It's very freeing. But, you know, what I realized, like I said, is that was kind of just these psychological acrobatics, you know, and in retrospect, it was like, it's what I had to do to get to where I am, but it's like kind of silly not to just embrace who you are, you know?
Yeah.
That's really what it wound up being about.
Have you always been kind of in tune or tapped into that, the feminine side of your personality?
I mean, I think so. I think I was kind of a mama's boy growing up. And then, yeah, that kind of goes back to Carl Jung. His clinical term for enlightenment was individuation, right? And he used to say that to achieve individuation, you need to like lean into what he called the anima and the animus, the male and female part of the psyche. And a male, depending on, I mean, it's all, you know, it all depends on an individual's own experiences and situations, but leaning into that other side and embracing it can help you, you know, it helps you realize yourself more and brings you closer to that individuation, you know? So I feel like I've always kind of, even before knowing about Carl Jung, I think I was always kind of leaning that way, you know, like embracing that side. Yeah, like I played sports and stuff, and I did all the stuff, you know, that made my dad proud and stuff like that. And, you know, but I wanted to pick around on the guitar and like paint and stuff, you know, and not that that's girly or whatever, but in the context of my life, leaning into those things was leaning into my more feminine side, which I'm super glad, obviously, that I did. You know, it's helped me through so many things.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I can relate, and I think I think that work is really compelling, and it's cool to see that, you know, you were able to converge both sides of it, and now you're on this path, right?
Yeah. And you know what? That's when stuff really started clicking. It was almost like, you know, I don't want to get all like hippie about it, but I feel like that was almost like, it felt like a reward for like giving myself the gift of myself psychologically. You know, things just started happening more, getting more shows, selling more work, more commissions, more, you know, everything just started to become more abundant when I did that.
I think that's cool. I think anytime you can get more in touch with yourself, and we're all multifaceted, you know, whether it's, you know, the classical masculine feminine side or left or right brain, or anytime you can, you know, really kind of explore your own self and be more in touch, the better off you are.
Right. So. Right. To be more rounded. Yeah. It's like, but it's like, there's a certain like, you know, like magic to a unionization of opposing elements, you know, it's like something crystallizes when you allow that to happen, even on like a physical, biological level, like or a molecular level. There's like negatively and positively charged particles that form something solid, our world, you know, a solid world that we can work in, you know, it's two opposite things that shouldn't be together, unionizing to crystallize something lasting. So to do that within yourself, you know, only good can come from it, because then you're not going to be your own biggest obstacle. You can help yourself because you know what you want, because you know who you are.
And that freeing, that helps you just get out of the way of this, of what's going on, and you can just do the work, right?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And I think we live. I was going to say, I think we live in a time that is really promoting that. You know, the self-help industry is, you know, part of that whole thing. And sometimes can be harmful, but at the same time, I think anytime anybody's exploring, that's great. So I think this is a great time to be yourself, because, you know, we get a lot of support for just going out and being yourself, you know, so this is great.
That's what's up. And it's interesting you say that, you know, like about the self-help thing kind of being a problem too, because like as soon as something becomes trendy, then it like puts it in a light that it could be seen wrong. You know what I mean? So that's where we get like toxic positivity, you know, like the positive vibes only thing, you know, which is great, but it's like, that's not the only part of reality. So then you start shutting yourself off from something else, and you think you're helping yourself, and you're not. You're getting farther away because you've rejected now a whole half of reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see that a lot, and especially in Colorado, because we have like big like pseudo hippie vein here, and so you kind of got to like look past the buzzwords that people say, like the positive vibes and third eye talk and all that. It's like, okay, you're saying the language, but are you like practicing what you're saying? So that's kind of the danger of the trendy part of it,
Yeah.
Do you have these like dialogues going in your head all the time?
Oh my God, constantly. I said the other day, my mind was kind of like a slot machine where everybody's just constantly, well, not everybody, me, I'm constantly fucking pulling the thing like all the time. And you can see it in the work, right? Like some of it's seemingly random, but that's how it works. And, sometimes I'll go back, like, I guess like the slot pulls run out on a piece and it's not done, right? So I have to like do something else and start pulling slots on other ideas, and then that'll like free up whatever I needed to see in the piece I got stuck on, So I'm constantly working on like, 4 or 5 pieces, like personal, not including, I'll be doing commissions and stuff too, but for my own work, I have to be cycling constantly in a place where I can be pulling that slot, just keeping those things turning.
That's a great metaphor. I love that. I love that metaphor.
Right? That's what I feel like.
This time that we're living in right now seems like you got to be really careful, right? In some ways, because cancel culture, you can take a lot of heat for doing something that doesn't, jive with people's thoughts. Do you ever find yourself in that position when you're working on a piece, even though you have this voice and you've arrived and you feel comfortable in your own skin and who you are as an artist? Do you ever reach that point where you have to take a moment and kind of step back and decide whether or not you're going to self-censor yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel that a lot. Yeah, there was a piece even recently, like within the last year, that's a good example of this. Like this acquaintance of mine that I met living in this insane house, like psychedelic, like it's crazy. It was this place called Mouth House. There's 19 people living in there. It was insane. But an acquaintance I had from there got she was all drunk and she went to pet this dog, right? Like a Rottweiler or something, and attacked her, like ripped up her face. Like her lip was in like 2 pieces. Her eyes were swollen shut. She looked completely unrecognizable from this dog attack, right? And at the time I saw the pictures of her in the hospital, I was like, I was seeing it purely from an aesthetic point of view. And I was like, oh man, the colors and the bruising is like amazing, And, asked her if I could like use those images as reference. And, I almost wish I hadn't asked her what happened, because the piece became unavoidably violent, the message of it, which I couldn't find a counter to like make it not that, And so I was wondering for a long time if I should even, if it should just be something that stays in my studio for me, just in my closet or something, And I did eventually post it, and when I didn't get any like backlash from it, I was mostly worried about her. Like I didn't want to like trigger her, but she was into it and it was received well and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think about that. But I also don't want to be too catered by like the conversation, because not all of it's legit. Some of the conversation at large we're having is like catered by different forces at play, like media intentions and individual politicians' intentions, like certain notes in the overall conversation I think aren't necessary, so I got to be really careful. I don't want to like get canceled. I don't want to like be viewed as that type of thing, like, oh, he's an artist who's always going to be like testing that or something, you know what I mean? But I also don't want to let it control me, I want to be cognizant of it. I want to think about it. Think about really my intention and how it's going to be picked up, and kind of dial into whether it's okay through that thought process.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is to, like you said, just to kind of zero in what is your intention, and as long as your intention is pure or not harmful or whatever, I think that should be the judge of it. Because anybody can read anything into pretty much anything. So
Right.
as long as you're true to yourself and your intention is once again I'll use this word even though it's wrong, pure, then I think you should just be guided by that.
Yeah, 100%. But there's a gray area there too. Like I just saw a couple days ago, Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks. Have you guys heard of this guy?
Yeah.
I saw some of your posts on Instagram.
Dude, I was really interested in that because I was like, why? Like the timing of releasing a song called White Boy Summer, the imagery, the font he's using, all has very racist undertones, right? So I started diving into that, and I don't think he's like trying to be that. I think he's like, oh, White Boy Summer means like it's everybody. But I'm like, it's so tone deaf, nobody is going to see that.
Yeah.
So that's an example of like, don't follow your heart here. Like, you need to educate yourself in order to like inform what you're doing. You can't just be like tone deaf and be like, oh, that's not what I mean. It's like, well, nobody's going to care because it's already heavily used imagery and like words, they already have connotations in society. So that shit made me laugh though. I was like, oh my God, I want to see Tom Hanks watch that. That should have been the music video. It's like they put the music video in front of Tom Hanks and just film Tom Hanks. That would have been a great video.
That would have been brilliant.
That would have been art. That would have been
that would have been art.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I was amazed.
Is that
I'll
still
have to
up
watch
on your
that.
Instagram?
My story, I think, has expired, but it's still out there.
Okay.
It's still funny. If anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah, I'm checking it out.
Oh my God. And I love that he's Hanx, Hanks, to like kind of like separate from his dad, I guess. I don't know. And his brother.
That's funny. Yeah.
It's
trying to find his own way.
Yeah.
As misguided as it might be. That's all right.
Yeah, you got to get out of that like extremely rich person bubble where like you only have little things that make you comfortable. And then in doing that, you forget about the entirety of society and what's going on and come out with a song called White Boy Summer. Come on. You can't do that. You can't.
Have you ever taken any heat for any of your pieces?
No. I've been pretty lucky that, if anybody's had beef with it, they haven't really told me, which I'm fortunate. I think people do kind of get where I'm coming from with some stuff, Yeah, because there's definitely things that I was worried about, especially those first initial pieces I put out under the pseudonym. Like one of them's called Mouth House and one of them's called Club Summer. And, there's just some stuff that might make people be like, what the fuck is he saying? Like, there's like a vodka bottle with like some birth control on it next to like some lines of Coke, and I could see how someone might perceive that in the wrong way,
Right.
But I think, I don't know, maybe it's like in the context of my other work or the context of the things I say, people understand generally, I think.
When did this whole journey with art start? Did it start when you were young?
Yeah, definitely. Like before I can remember. And I mentioned this the other day, like I've been told this story like forever, my whole life. I don't remember it at all. I can see it in my mind, but I think it's because I've been told it so many times. But my grandma lived with us when I was really little. And I was like tracing, me and my cousin Milo were tracing Disney characters like Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and stuff like that. And my grandma came over and she's like, oh, you guys drawing? And Milo was like, well, I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, Grandma. And then I like all cocky was like, I am an artist, Grandma. So that like, I kind of like take that as the start of my like passion, I saw it differently back then, in a different way. I don't think it's ever really gone away. I was always drawing like Spider-Man comics. I loved comic books as a kid, I still collect comics. I love comics. But yeah, it's always been like very ingrained in what I do. You know, there was a deviation in my like teens because I also like love playing music, and I thought that's what I was going to be doing, you know, playing guitar. I played a little bit of violin and stuff, and pursued that pretty hard for a while, you know, and then had an epiphany when I was living at this crazy mouth house one night where I was like, it was akin to the feeling I have that I described earlier when I'm like dialing into a feeling in my chest that I want to see in front of me in my imagery, right? It was that same feeling, but it was like, you could do this. You can make money doing this, you know? And it just felt like it was like ringing through like time space from the future. Like, you can do this. It was also, you know, it might have had some substances helping me think about that stuff. But yeah, it's always been a part of what I'm doing. It's always been a part of what I think about and what I consume. It's definitely like an integral part of who I am, for sure, since I was a child.
All these artistic endeavors that you had, from music to, you know, drawing and all that, was that encouraged in your family or from other people? Did you have mentors?
Not really until later. One thing about my family, though, that I just have to say is like, I would be nowhere without their support. Like, my mom played piano. I have a little bit of memory of my dad drawing when I was like a kid. Like, I have one specific memory of like being at the kitchen table and he was drawing a face, like a human face, like showing me. But, you know, my mom stopped playing piano in my early teens, and, you know, my dad doesn't really do anything like that. You know, he's very business minded, which has been good. You know, that's been a good influence on me as well. But just their general support has just been, I wouldn't have been able to do it without them, you know. But yeah, it was mostly from stuff I was watching, like, or reading. You know, that's what got me into it. Or like because like I said, I had that memory from my grandma. I must have always been there, always been interested in art. But what kept it going must have just been my interest in it, just drawn to it. I needed it, you know, whether it was like movies or video games or comics or whatever it was. I loved it. I loved the fantasy, sci-fi, you know, talking about the current time without talking about the current time, you know, like back doors into realizing stuff and narratives. And like, I was just always obsessed with art in all its forms.
And storytelling, it sounds like. Obviously, you read a lot, and then you know, with the comic books, and then your love of movies.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Storytelling is like, to me, it's like the most important thing that we have, like, since the dawn of civilization, pre-civilization. Like, that's how you learn. I mean, if you really want to get technical, you wake up and tell yourself a story about who you are every day and every moment, how you react to stuff, why you feel certain ways about things. It's all narrative, you know, because in reality, you're different as the moment moves, you know, you're a different person, but you just maintain this sense of like continuity by telling yourself a story about yourself. And then from there, you can branch out into all sorts of things. You learn about history through storytelling, you know, and that's where like religions come out of and blah, blah, blah. It's all like blossoming out of trading narrative. So it's a huge part of how I think about everything. Everything is like a story. The art, like people even like embody certain archetypes, you know, in your own life, the roles they play, even that language, the roles they're playing, that's acting. That's, you know, it's crazy. It's really everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a integral fabric. I'm loving that word today, integral. But it's like integral in the fabric of humanity and civilization and stuff.
Well, and that's what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom and plant kingdom, as far as we know,
right.
is we can create a narrative. And I, you know, talking about creating a narrative every morning when you wake up, it's also probably pretty interesting how we change our narrative through the course of our life, where we remember things probably incorrectly, because I'll have conversations with people and they'll be like, I don't remember it that way.
Yeah.
So we make up a story, and sometimes it's purely fictional.
Yeah. So. Or the story that person's told themselves built a different vantage point for them. You know what I mean? So it's like Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was always thinking of like, if I was to write a memoir, I'd have to interview people that knew me at a certain time. Like I'd want to interview my ex-wife to get her perspective on it, because I don't know if it would be real without knowing, like, well, what did she think when we were going through X, you know? So,
right,
but
right. Yeah, and that's so important too. Like trying, like those vantage points are important to get the actual story, right?
Right.
Because then you can distill from these different vantage points, different points of view. You can distill maybe what's actually going on, you know, or maybe where you were wrong, or maybe where they're wrong, you know.
Yeah,
it's important for sure.
Yeah,
important.
Cool.
I love that, man. And you're so right on, because that's the thread that's been there since the beginning of time, since we've been walking this planet, right?
Right.
The only thing that's changed is the way that we do storytelling. You know, now we have a multitude of ways that we didn't have 3,000 years ago or whatever to tell different stories. Technology plays into that. You mentioned this before, this infamous mouth house. So I want you to talk a little bit about that and how you came into living with these 19 people or whatever it was, living in this infamous house here in Denver.
Well, it was, the idea was like born out of people I know. It was a lot of people. I'm from Elizabeth, Colorado. Pretty much everyone that was in there was from Elizabeth for the most part. Some outliers, but that were entangled in our friend group, you know. And there's something like, I think if I'm talking about Mouth House, it's important to mention Elizabeth, because I mean, like I said, a lot of people are from there, but Elizabeth is just a weird fucking place. Like, it's just like this little town, you know, right before you get to Kiowa, in between Castle Rock and Kiowa. And, you know, it's been called Elizabeth. And it's a weird place. It's a weird place. But there's so many talented and creative people that came out of this place. And it's like there's something in the water, you know, like just bizarre. But anyway, so it was a lot of people from Elizabeth that got the idea. And I was working at a tree farm in Parker at the time. And, you know, what was I? 18 or 19. And I wanted to get out of my parents' house, and they're like, yo, we have so many people in here. The rent's nothing. Like, you should come live here. And I was like, yeah, like moved in there with my girlfriend at the time, which was like a terrible idea. Terrible idea. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Just wait. But yeah, and you know, we wanted to have like a venue house where we could like throw shows. It was, you know, most of us were playing music, and a lot of the people in the house were bandmates, you know. So we wanted to have a place where we could practice all the time, and then a place where we could have shows and have bands, and, you know, little touring bands could come through, and we could, like, you know, take donations and pay for their gas and give them a place to stay and some food and get them going to the next place, right? And it was great. It was really great. And the first year we had like 260 shows or something. So like almost every day of the week. And it became a crazy lifestyle, you know, because if you had to work in the morning, when I was living there, I was working at the Biker Jim's Gourmet Hot Dogs in Denver. And, you know, if I had to work in the morning and I wanted to go to sleep, I had to party. Because I'm not going to like go to bed sober and go to sleep, because it's always somebody's night off, you know? So the house is just insane. So it's like, oh, if I want to be in bed for a minute, I better get hammered, you know? So intense life, like almost like touring, but confined into a single place, you know? Very intense environment. So many crazy things happened. The Mouth House painting shows my buddy Clay with a hose, like hosing down a burning Lazy Boy chair, which actually happened there. Like at one of the shows, we had this like big brown leather chair out in the backyard, and somebody lit it on fire, and it was like, you know, crazy intense, like black smoke coming off this chair. And my buddy Clay was just sitting there with the cig, like casually hosing it down. There's like 50 people in the backyard probably. And the cops roll up and they're like, "You guys good?" And we're like, "Yeah, we got it." And I go, "All right." Like, there's a keg there. There's like 50 kids out here and a burning chair. And they're like, "You guys got it. You're fine." Yeah, we were really fortunate that they, because, you know, it was loud almost every night there. And, you know, we never really got messed with until when we actually finally did get shut down. It was because a family had moved in a lot that was pretty close to us. And we had some like undercovers come into a Halloween show we were throwing. And our donations for the touring band were just like physically too close in proximity to the keg. So they wound up closing us down based on illegal sale of alcohol, even though that wasn't happening. But, you know, it was a good 2.5 year run at this place. This, the nun holding the alligator, that was from the first Halloween show, which was crazy. We had the live alligator.
You had a live alligator?
We had a live alligator. It was insane, dude. Like a spiral staircase that was the mouth of a beast. Like you start walking up the staircase, you're in its mouth. You can see its tongue and its teeth. And as you get to the top of the stairs, it's like the head of the beast painted on the floor and stuff. Like crazy. We had like that dartboard game where you like throw darts at balloons, but every popped balloon would just reveal some crazy porn. Like this wall that we were working with this another collective called SLVLC. And they had come in and helped us do this Halloween show, and they brought the alligator. They had the porn balloon thing. Super amazing, creative group of people. And then there was one guy specifically, his name is James Fuller, who to me is just like a local legend. One of the biggest influences on me as a painter. Just amazing, an amazing painter. And he would come in and like, you know, see me working and, you know, give me little tips and stuff. He got me a show out at what is that? Adams State. Is that the college out there in Alamosa? Adams State University. Got me a show out there. And, you know, he was like he's someone I would consider one of my like heaviest influences that made me want to like keep going. But he was a part of that group and they helped us a lot with putting together events and stuff. They're great. Yeah, crazy house. Like I was telling Todd, there was like my life before Mouth House, and then passing through Mouth House was like this dimensional rift in reality. And like afterwards, I was different. Felt like I had like been going through life like half online, and then got through that house and I was like, holy shit, the world is wide.
Maybe that's the fascination with frat houses too. You know, you go live in a frat house and it totally changes your perspective from living at home with your parents.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like a culture shock in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Especially with having so many shows. Like it was just, if you were going to live there, you had to evolve and adapt and do stuff. Yeah.
Those things that you described, those events, were those some of the craziest? What was the craziest thing that you ever witnessed when you were there?
Oh shit! Oh my god! Every fucking day, dude. Like, the crazy story coming to mind right now is like we had this band who was like kind of, I'm forgetting their name, which is okay because they're awful people. But they were a local band. They didn't have any instruments. So every time they showed up to a place, they're like, "Can we use your drums? Can we use your guitar?" Blah, blah, blah. And they weren't careful with anything. They weren't nice about it. And we had them play at our house once. And then we had like a terrible plumbing problem, right? And we had someone come fix it. And they had like flushed a bunch of syringes down the toilet. It fucked up the plumbing. You know, we had like toilet water coming up in the sink downstairs, like just awful. And then some pretty gross stuff. Like we ran out of toilet paper one night at a show, And these people went upstairs to our nice bathroom. Nice. Nothing was nice there, but it was a bathroom that looked like a usable bathroom, kind of. And, someone took a shit in there and there was no toilet paper. So we go in there the next morning and there's literally, like, on the shower curtain, there's literally just, like, brown stripes up the shower curtain. And we're like, what the fuck? Somebody has to get a new shower curtain. Of course, but we're all broke, paying $100 in rent in a month. And so we're like, you do it. No, you do it. And the shitty fucking shower curtain was up there for like a week. It was a lawless place. Absolutely lawless.
It sounds like it, man. Holy cow. I would have just grabbed a can of gasoline and a match and just been done with that bathroom. Like, that bathroom's done.
Just open it up into a room everybody could see outside. Just burn the walls down. But it was a crazy place. But yeah, that Halloween show was definitely like one of our most famous ones. And then we had this band called the Kaiju come in. That was another one of our really, really huge ones because we were kind of like their link into playing in Denver. You know, they played at our house a couple times. And then we got them into other venues because we moved from Mouth House and we took that same idea and concept once Mouth House died and still did put on events at bars and stuff and whatnot. And so we've got them into these other venues and stuff. But when they played at our house, they're just the most insane, interactive band. Like they're the kaiju. So that's like a big beast, like Godzilla, it was like a kaiju. And so they would wear these like almost like geisha type masks and these surf suits and play this like insane psychedelic surf rock, but they were in people. Like they would kiss people. They would give their guitars to random people and just be walking around and stuff. They put on the craziest show, and someone filmed that whole show, and that became one of our like big, like people would ask about that show and ask, is the kaiju coming back? Like blah, blah, blah. Turned into a crazy thing.
Are you amazed that it lasted as long as it did?
Yeah, I am. It was just crazy. It was crazy. But it was such a blast though, too. Like, like I said, we were all in bands. There was comedians living with us that are, my buddy Sam's now like doing super well. I don't know. It was just it was like a microcosm of the entertainment world. We had like all these visual artists, musicians, comedians. We had all the ingredients there to make awesome events without having to bring people out from outside if we didn't want to. You know what I mean? And of course we did, because we wanted a big community. We'd have like bounce castles, and there was one really, really stupid idea that we had one time where there was like a bunch of old TVs at the end of a slip and slide, which there was blood. People did that. Sam did it. My comedian buddy, Sam did it. I'm pretty sure he came out with a bloody head. Just insane. It was an insane, really insane time. Insane house. But we won a Westward Award at the end of the first year for like best house show or best DIY venue or something like that. It was great. Good times. And like I said, that's what got me started doing art, like wanting to pursue it as a career. I mean, like was in that house.
That's cool.
It sounds like an incredible experience, actually.
Oh God, it was amazing. It was amazing.
If I would have been younger and I would have known you, I would have been right there, man. That would have been that would have been me.
Hey, we had guys your guys' age there too.
Yeah, it was all ages.
It was every type of person, every kind of music, everything. It was everything. It was a miracle, really. It's an actual miracle.
Somebody should write a book about it. It sounds like.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Sam was going to pull stuff in about that. He wrote this book called Running the Light, about his like comedy life. And I know he's working on another book, and that book's doing extremely well, by the way. And that's the one I did the cover for. Yeah,
let's talk about that since we're on that subject right now.
Yeah.
So you knew Sam from this Mouth House.
Yeah, and he's from Elizabeth also. His little sister is like one of my best friends of all time. When I moved back from Kansas, I was so broke, and their parents gave me very cheap rent at their house in Elizabeth. So that's kind of how I got back to Colorado, was through their family. Like, just endlessly thankful for those people.
Why were you in Kansas?
So, oh man, this is a whole other thing. But yeah, when I was 25, I had about a 4-month period of learning I was going to be a father of twins, and then them being in my house, and I was raising them alone, right? And Denver is expensive as fuck. It's like the Midland LA, you know, it's like really expensive. And while I was doing really good at the time that happened, having to switch gears and like, you know, have to adjust to raising 2 kids after coming out of Mouth House and like touring all the time and constantly doing shit every night, like just switching gears completely. You know, I had to step back from my day job, delivering pizza. And, but just shout out really quick to Danny from Garlic Knot. When I was going through all that, he let me pick my schedule. Like, he let me do whatever I wanted and helped me out so much. But I had to take a big step back from that. Lost a lot of money, could not afford Denver. So I had to go to Kansas, which is literally like a fourth of the price, right? I had a house with a backyard twice as big as the house, garage, you know, 2 bedrooms for like $675 or something a month. Like, insane. You know, you're going to pay like double or triple that for a studio in Denver, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I was out there for a while, and then my whole goal was like, all right, I got to like fucking kick it into high gear, make some money, and get back to Colorado. That was like my goal. So, and I didn't know anybody out there. Like, my friends out there were people who I like found who could sell me weed, you know? And I was just focusing on art because I didn't know anybody. And I was just like, I got to make this work. I have to make this work. And that's when my alter ego came out. That's when everything just went, you know, under the lens. And I just hyper focused, you know, got back to Colorado, got on my feet a little bit, you know, and whatever. But sorry, I got lost on those sub clauses. What was the original thing?
I was just curious why you were out in Kansas, because that sounds, you know, I didn't know if you had family out there or if you just needed a change, you know, from
it was
a little bit, kind of like focus a little bit. But the reality of it is that you ended up having these 2 beautiful twin boys, right?
Yeah. And that, you know, at first I was like, fuck, everything is over now. Like, all this shit I've been working on is just done. But what really happened is it made it happen. It made everything that I needed to do for myself more achievable, honestly. You know, I got out of my own way. I stopped fucking around. It was just no bullshit. Like, I have to do this. And that was because of them. It was 100% because of them, because of the kids.
Yeah, you have these two small beings that you're responsible for now, that you have to, you know, meet all their basic needs at the very least. And then being a dad, I mean, that's really incredible, man. It's very inspirational.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I hope other people hear that too, because, you know, everybody thinks that I can't have kids. I'm doing this. And not that you should have kids for that reason or whatever, but it's not the end of the world. You know, if that happens to somebody and they're not ready for it, it's not the end of the stuff you want to do. You just have to work harder. You have to work harder, you know, and getting that, those work habits, that time management on lock is going to make you better at what you want to do. And it's going to make you a better, you know, influence for your kids. They get to see a hardworking person in their life that's doing things right. Like, you know, that was a big thing. Like, I just don't want them growing up seeing me struggle. So I like had to kick it into high gear. And then that gave me the things that I wanted before I had kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a really tough thing to work through though, because I didn't see that for most of the time. You know, this is like, I'm looking back on it now, but in the moment I was just like, it was just a Hail Mary. Like, God, please, I just want to do this. I have to do this. I have to. There's no other option, really. Just got to do it.
And were you a single dad from pretty much the get-go?
Yeah. So their mom pretty much dipped out when they were 3 months old. So I was like, those were crazy times. Those were really, really crazy times. Like, because you feed them every 3 hours, so you don't sleep. So I would be like, feeding them and then painting. That was my life. It's on every 3 hours. Feed, paint, feed, paint, feed, paint, feed, paint, feed, paint. And then there's a funny story, actually. Like, I would go in, I'd be working till 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes, painting, and then have to feed them at 5:30 or 6, right? So I'd like heat up the bottles, and they were small enough I could have them in the same crib at the time. And I'd go down there and get on my knees and like kind of lean my arms over the cribs and let them drink out of the bottles, right? And then a couple of times I fell asleep because I had like just got done working. I'd been asleep for like an hour, right? And I would just eat shit. I would fall over onto the ground. And so like, if you see my son's cribs now, there's all these bite marks and you're like, dang, I got like little beavers for kids, right? But I'm like, no, that was me, because I would go down there to feed him and be afraid of falling. So I'd like bite the crib so that if I fell asleep, I would like, there'd be like a moment that I would like hang on, That's how hard it was. Like that. Wow, it was no fucking joke. It was no joke. It's crazy times.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was wild. But like I said, it's like, and that's another big misconception with parenting. You're supposed to be like, they are like an absolute blessing, light of my life. There's nothing better. And it is all those things 100,000,000%, right? But just like we were talking about earlier, that's just like the positive vibes look, because it also is the worst. It's so hard. There's so much adjustment that has to happen. People need to be like honest about that shit so that they don't feel like they're doing something wrong when they're stressed out and like struggling. They don't need to go out and be like, oh, but I love it. And it's like, it's okay to say this sucks sometimes, because it's true.
Right. Yeah.
But in the end, yeah, all the cliches are real for sure. Like, it is the best seeing them like grow. It's wild.
How old are your boys now?
They just turned 5. And this is another funny thing. On April Fool's Day, that's when they were born. So twins on April Fool's Day. Nobody fucking believed me. They were like, oh, you got these pictures off the internet. So I'm like, no, those are my children. But yeah, they turned 5 on April Fool's Day.
That's crazy.
Were they born prematurely?
They were born almost 2 months premature, yeah. So there was a period where I was going in, it would be like delivering pizzas and then like go to the NICU, and I'd be in there. I'd like draw them and stuff. Like, there's a few drawings of them from that time, and it was crazy because they looked like cyborgs. They had like all these cords and like laying on the Billy light, the blue light that helps, I forget the yellowing skin thing.
Jaundice.
But if you say it, I'll know it.
Jaundice.
That's what it is. Yeah. So they would be on those beds. And I would draw them. And I think I'd play music for them and stuff. And I would get in trouble because you're not supposed to play music in the NICU because it's like they're too sensitive, I guess. But I was playing them the Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack. I was like, you guys have to be coming in to that. Like, come on. It's so great. And they're like, yeah, you can't do that. And then on their like 30-day birthday, when they were 30 days old, I brought them like flowers, and I like wanted them to smell the flowers. And the nurse was like, no. Like, I was like putting the petals on their faces and stuff. And the nurse was like, no, you can't have like fresh cut flowers in here. Like, it's not allowed. It's like, oh shit. So I was like constantly going over there and doing stuff with them. And I looked really fondly upon that little period of the NICU. I got pretty close with one of the nurses that was taking care of them. She kind of like helped me through because she knew that their mom wasn't going to be around. I was there every day, and they would be like, where is she? Does she work? I'm like, she doesn't work. Like, where is she? I'm like, I don't know.
Wow.
So yeah, I was just there all the time, and I really, really enjoyed that period. It was cool.
That's intense, man. I mean, it's intense parenting with having 2 people involved.
With one kid?
Yeah, with one kid, but to have twins and have them be premature, and then you're taking that both roles on, and I just think it's admirable. So
thank you. Yeah, and people would ask, like, I'd be like on a patio eating with the boys or something. People would be like, how do you do twins? Like, what's it like having twins? I'm like, what's it like having one? I don't know. I just do it. I imagine it's easier. It's probably harder to do this. I don't know. But
you figure it out, right?
Yeah. You just adapt. You just do it. You take, and this transfers over into, pushing yourself with your work too. You just take one day at a time. Because if you think about all the stuff, all the potential what ifs and things that can happen, it crushes you, and it's immobilizing. You have to be like, what can I get done today that I'm a step further than I was yesterday? That's how I look at work too. Like, besides just like getting the work done, what can I do? What can I do to take me like a little bit further? Like, do I need to, buy some ads? Do I need to, talk to this person about a show? Am I doing a collab with somebody? Like, because, that's a good way to market too, is like to do work with others, because then you kind of like cross-pollinate a little bit. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Do one day at a time, and then pretty soon 5 years are behind you, and you're way better than you were at day one,
Yeah.
Just looking at the day, the moment. What can I do right now?
And that's all we really have anyway, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Everything else is stories.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't true, especially if it hasn't happened yet,
Right.
That's a great piece of advice as far as, so I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it's a trip.
Yeah. I had a photographer friend that always had this like little mantra. And he would ask himself at the very end of the day, he would ask this question, like, what did you do today to further your career? Like, what was that one thing that you did that is helping you go to that next level? Just like what you were saying.
Yeah. I think that's one of the key little life hacks is like, yeah, you can drown yourself in all this shit that you have to do. Your laundry list, that's never grown. That's like life. It's just like a list of shit you have to do every day. And you think about that list too much and you can't do anything. It's very, it absorbs all your energy and power. You want to like maintain your power and like have energy to do the thing that you can do today well.
Yeah.
I reserve that instead of getting lost in fantasies that make you feel like shit. All the stuff you have to do.
So what was the catalyst to push you to move back to Denver then?
Isolation. People were like, when the pandemic started, they're like, oh, I can't. Like, oh, it's so different. We can't leave the house. I'm going crazy. I'm like, I've been doing this shit. Like, it was isolation. Like, I needed to be like around people I knew because just with the kids, and they were like one at that time. So it was still taking so much energy from me. And then like getting energy to like start a new social life in a new place with all that going on. And I was trying to focus on work. There was just like such little time that I could go out. And so I didn't have the time to invest in making new meaningful relationships. So I was like, I need to like be around people who know everything already about me so that I can just like bullshit with people. You know what I mean? And that I had problems with the gallery there. There was like I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to like shit talk anybody, but I had issues with them, and like that was kind of the last thing. I was like, I just gotta get back, And Wichita was all right as far as Kansas goes. Like Wichita was I dig that place. It's kind of like a little slice of like Lodo vibes, So it kind of reminded me of Denver in some ways, which was cool. But yeah, I just had to get back, And then as soon as I got back, things just picked up, like. Started showing with Valkyrie Gallery, which is great. I love that place. And Valerie there is amazing. She's an amazing artist as well.
Talk about that place real quick, since you're talking about them, and I know a lot of artists that show there. So give her a little shout out.
Yeah, Valerie Savory from Valkyrie Gallery. She's an amazing artist. She does like these like book pieces. She'll take like old books and pretty much carve into the cover and the pages to make these crazy 3D images, and really good. She's really creative. She also makes like awesome like dolls and stuff that are really cool. And then she's just so supportive of artists. I mean, obviously she's got a gallery and stuff, but she's so approachable. Like some galleries are kind of cliquey, and they're a little bit harder to penetrate. And Valerie is one of those ones where it's like I don't know, she'll listen to you and she'll give you the time of day, and she's great. And that gallery is great. She's got a lot of different variety of work, but it's not so wide that they don't have an audience, like they have an audience for sure. And it's great. And I've met so many other good artists through there. They do like I don't know what it's like since the pandemic, but they used to do like a art night every Thursday where artists, whether you were showing there or not, it was kind of just her way to like bring people in, make art on Thursday nights there and stuff. But yeah, I'm very, very thankful for her. She got me going again. She's got my gears turning again in that business side of it, getting into places and stuff.
And tell people where this gallery is located.
It's in Belmar in Littleton. It's like near the mall, kind of by the movie theater on one of the little back street areas. There's a bunch of galleries right there. Sally Centigrade's right there too. Yeah, Belmar and Littleton. It's a great place. It's a gem for that area. It really is. You're
right, because there's really that little strip right there up in Belmar. It was just north of my house here in Lakewood. It is a gem, and I do love that gallery. So that's cool
it's so great
that you're in with them and you have that connection. Do you have other gallery representation?
That's really been it since coming back to Colorado. Well, actually, no, there was an amazing gallery called 701 Gallery. That was downtown. It was like near the Santa Fe Art District, but it was like a couple streets east. I forget what it was off of Santa Fe. But oh my God, such an amazing place. And they I went to one show and got into a really good conversation with them. And they let me pretty much curate the whole back room area. So I split it and did like a double solo feature with my buddy Chris Nugent, who's also an incredible local artist, ceramicist, tattoo artist, illustrator, painter. One of my really close buddies. We've collaborated on a few pieces together. He's great, but we did a solo show there, and it was so amazing, such a good experience. And then that gallery, a drunk driver, went off the road and just smashed into the gallery. And they lived in a little supplemental apartment area, and it was cold that night, and they decided to sleep on another side of the building, and the car went straight over their bed.
Oh my God.
Wow. They just didn't sleep there that night, went straight to the bed. And then blah, blah, blah. The owner of the building decided to do other things with it once he fixed it up and stuff. And they're kind of in limbo right now, but that was another gallery I was using. But, this is a good segue into another important thing, because with that happening and then the pandemic and stuff, it just wasn't feasible to I needed money. I couldn't be pursuing galleries, just trying to start relationships and do all that. I need money now. So, prior to that, I had been pretty rigid. I'm going to be a gallery fine artist. That's going to be who I am. That's what I'm doing. And then when all that happened, I kind of had to step back and be okay, what are other things I could apply my skills to, because before I had thought if I get a job doing art, then I'm not doing it. It felt weird to me for some reason, which was stupid. It was very stupid and limiting. But as soon as I decided that, again, it was almost another layer of coming into my own. And then it just seemed like things just started clicking when I just made that conscious decision to be what else can I do? What are my other options? So I started doing album covers. I was working with this band Shawarma, and I'm still working with them. I do stuff with them all the time. Phenomenal kind of a Ween-esque band, not in any genre. They do everything. Started doing album covers for them, and it was a really cool project where I got to do like character panels essentially, right? So I painted these white panels, made all these weird characters for this story album that they made. And then we kind of got to take those out of the paintings digitally and like arrange them into a cover. I think I have it right here actually. But so yeah, this was the cover that we put together. It's kind of hard to see, but you know, little characters. And then it's called Emily's Apartments, which is a actual place in Littleton or Lakewood. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen it? Have you seen that sign before? Off of I want to say it's Sheridan in like 6th-ish area.
Okay. I'll have to keep my eye open. I'm sure I've seen it before.
Apartments. Yeah, they like infamously forgot the T. So it's Emily's Apartments. So that was kind of and that kind of opened me up to a whole other kind of work. And I started sculpting and stuff and doing casts. Like I made these like resin statues basically, and used those skills to kind of do like a short film with them. Got to help them, you know, write this supplemental film to go with the album, right? And whatever, budget and COVID again, blah, blah, blah. We kind of had to like cut stuff down. But we wound up, you know, making this really cool live stream story that's been continuing. Like we've done 2 of them now. And it's mostly them. I'm not going to try to take more credit than I deserve, but I've helped with both of them doing prosthetics, like making like the bass player, Kevin, who I've actually played and toured with for a long time. He's a great buddy. Making him kind of look like a Star Trek character, right? So like applying latex and scar wax and stuff to like alter the bone structure of his head to make it look weird. And you get to do these live streams because like, okay, so during the pandemic, nobody's playing shows, right? So we're like, okay, we'll do a live stream, but everyone's doing live streams. So why don't we pre-record the live stream, act like it's live, like have comments that people could be writing and respond to them. And then actually on the day, go type those comments and then have shit that could never happen live. Like the bass player gets abducted by an alien and replaced with an alien version of himself. And also there's this story going through what is just a live performance, right? And that's carried into now another video that was amazing. They are really fun. But to get back to what I was saying, you know, doing stuff like that, doing album covers, like I had done no album covers prior to 2020. By the end of 2020, I did 6 in the book, which brought me other work, other musicians randomly. Got to do another project with a guy who I still work with regularly, Nate Berkman. He's a great musician from the Northeast. Got to do his album, which isn't out yet, so I can't like say too much about it, but it's an epic project, really epic project. I loved working on it. And like I said, I'm still doing stuff for it. You know, like we want to do stuff for the live show, the tour, like stage props and stuff like that. Want to do that kind of work and whatnot. So I'm really excited about all that. That's all going to happen in the summer, I think, / fall. And yeah, I mean, I just got
really been branching out in this time of the pandemic. So just like we've heard time and time again, the pandemic in some ways has been a good thing. Like it sounds like it's been a really fruitful time for you and you've continued to make a living as an artist and have done well.
Yeah. And I'm so fortunate. And I feel like a dick every time I like, you know, cause it's been a hard year for people. You know, some people are talking about how hard it's been. I like feel like I can't talk about what I've been doing, you know, cause I'm like, I love it. I loved that year. I did. You know, and, you know, but I don't want to like diminish the suffering that people went through, you know, and, you know, it's a very serious thing, but I was just it made things click for me, you know, and I would have never deviated. Well, I can't say never, but I didn't have any plans to deviate from being a gallery artist. You know, I had no intention of doing that. Yeah. And I'm just so glad I did. I've got to meet friends I'm going to have for the rest of my life now, you know, and that are also good business relationships. Like, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. Thankful for all those people. Thankful for the chance of it, you know, like what are the chances? Like crazy shit. And like, yeah, in the book too was kind of a Hail Mary on its own. And, you know, I got to hear like Mark Maron tell a story about the book cover. And I was like, what the fuck? I've been listening to this dude since I was like 18. And he's telling a story about the cover. And then Joe Rogan was looking at it and stuff. It's been crazy. It's been crazy.
That's awesome, man. So talk about this book from your friend Sam Tallent, and it's done really well.
It's a truly phenomenal fucking book. It is. I've always thought Sam was a genius, you know, intimidating on an intimidating level, like just a smart, well-read guy. And so I knew it was going to be good. You know, I knew the book was going to be good. But when I actually read it, and I actually read it when it looked like this, like different cover. My buddy Bonzo took this photo, and I didn't know I was going to do what's now the cover for it. I was just reading it to support Sam and was amazed by it. You know, like it's funny, but then it's also like touching such a human chord, like where, you know, I'd be in tears sometimes reading it, you know. I don't want to give anything away, but it's basically like the life of a touring comic who is kind of burnt out. Like he had a heyday where he was like, you know, dabbling in Hollywood stuff and doing the big version of a comedian, and then, you know, kind of fell out of his glory and just kind of doing shitty shows where, you know, he's not even the main act. There's a funny part in the beginning, and some of these stories are true, like from his experiences that he's like fictionalized, where like he does a show with where he's like the side act, and the main act is literally they feed this guy feeds this duck a bunch of food, right? And like they draw a bunch of lines on the ground and they play duck shit bingo. So this duck, like people scare this duck, and then wherever it shits, whoever guesses that square gets money or something. And he's like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is my career. And so there's crazy shit like that. It's funny. It's intense. You know, the intensity, I think I captured a little bit in the cover. You know, it's just to the limits of what a human can undergo, I think. Just a phenomenal book. And then, yeah, Doug Stanhope says, you know, it's the only accurate book about road comedy. It's definitely worth a read, but especially if you're in any type of entertainment work or interest. It's just essential. I mean, it's got to be read, and it's, you know, you can read it quickly. It's not super long or anything, but it's fucking amazing. It's a really, really good book. So
the first edition sold out and they were doing a second edition. Is that how you got the cover? And Sam, being your friend, said, hey, you want to do the cover for this? How'd that happen?
Yeah, he had said, he had mentioned before I read it that, you know, I could maybe do something for it and he would use it. And then some time went by and I didn't know if that was going to happen anymore, but I was reading it anyway. And then I was like, God damn it, dude, this is so fucking good. This is so good. I hit him up right after I finished it, like just in awe, just in the wake of this crazy story. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do a few things and you can pick whichever one you want. You can use it if you want. He's like, absolutely. Like whatever you do will be the cover. Like the first thing he sent me, I'm putting it on there. Basically, is what he said. And yeah, so I did that painting. I think I started it on a Friday and finished it a Sunday night, that next Sunday night. And then, yeah, it was interesting too. This is a way I kind of combine digital and oil is, like I showed him the cover, and at first the microphone and the mic cable was just twine, kind of like the string holding the cigs around his head. And Sam was like, what if the twine was a mic cable? And so I was like, okay. So I took a picture of it, and then I went into Procreate, which is like the, you know, popular painting program on the iPad. And I painted in the mic and the cable and stuff that way, just to like see, you know, just to see what it looked like. I also played a lot around with the background. There was a bunch of different backgrounds and stuff at first. And then when I found something I liked, I then finished it in oil and did all my changes in oil. And so that was kind of a cool way to utilize digital with oil. That was like one of the first times I did that on like an actual project that people were going to see, you know?
So since then, have you incorporated that into your workflow on a regular basis?
Yeah, I was just doing it last night. I'm working on this like huge painting that I've been working on for a long time. And I'm just getting to the end now. And it's kind of one of the crutches I can use for not doing studies, right? Because as I'm going, I can be like, okay, what would it look like if I change this to this? Take a picture really quick, paint it in digitally, and I can see what it would look like, because it's good. I mean, the technology is crazy. I use Adobe Fresco a little more than I use Procreate now, just because when you paint with oil paint on that, you see the paint. It looks wet. You drag your brush through it. You could see brush strokes like moving the physical paint around, it looks like. So it really doesn't trip me up too much. I can really get an idea of what it's going to look like if I make certain changes, So I was just doing that last night. Yeah. Working on this painting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So if you go to Richard's Instagram, Grave Daisy, that I mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast, if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see the book, or if you search it out on Amazon and decide you're going to purchase it, you'll see the book cover there. Describe to our listeners what they'll see when they see that cover.
So it's the main character, Billy Ray Schaefer, who I kind of modeled after Sam. And he's intense as fuck, like just drugs, drinking, cigarettes. I mean, that's how you make it through tour life, really, unless you have like a ton of money or something. Like that's tour life, right? And so I wanted to just capture the intensity of it. So he's got, beer, like crushed beer cans covering his eyes, and like a crown of cigs, and then like a little cocaine baggy smile that's all kind of tied onto his head with a mic cable and a piece of twine. And he's got a bluish blackened nose, which I'll save that for if anyone wants to read the book, because that's a part of the narrative. But also, the audiobook just came out, which is on Audible and all this stuff. It was really cool. He got Mark Maron, Doug Stanhope, Bert Kreischer, Ari Shafir, David Bory, a bunch of people, bunch of awesome comics read each chapter, which is really cool because some of them you could tell they're not like readers, so you kind of get a little bit of them in it, It's really interesting. So if they're not readers, they can listen to it also that way.
Yeah, that's
awesome,
cool,
man.
But yeah, and the painting's intense. I remember the first thing Sam said to me when I sent it to him, he was like, it's jarring. Like, because at first there's like a little bit of yellow behind his head. And at first it was just white. And he was like, oh man, that's like jarring. The white with the intensity of the image. Like, but I was thinking about how it would look on a bookshelf, like in a bookstore. And I'm like, there's no way you don't see that, there's no way, and then I painted on the text. The text was actually done digitally with a digital paintbrush, but yeah, I just wanted something striking. If you saw it on in a tattered cover or something, you couldn't not see it if you were scanning, white, intense image, black writing. And then I think I've got one of the actual ones somewhere.
It's definitely arresting, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And that was crazy seeing like Joe Rogan's face looking at it. Like I could see his reaction to it, which is a trip because I've been listening to Joe Rogan since I was a kid too, like it's a fucking trip. What a trip. He's like, Joe Rogan's making that face at my shit, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Right?
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So you talked about doing the album covers. Obviously, you have some connections to these people and these bands, but was that pretty organic the way that all came about too?
Very much so, because I have a pretty good integrated history with music in Denver and stuff. But yeah, the album covers I've done, I haven't done for anybody that I knew prior. Well, one, Chris Nugent's band, I did a couple albums for two of his projects, so I knew him. But yeah, everything else was just someone saw something and they were like, I want something too, and it just kind of was a little chain reaction that's still happening.
It's still going, right?
Need to knock on wood myself here. But yeah, I want to just keep it going. I love doing it. It's one of my favorite, like I said earlier in the podcast, I love music when I'm listening. It's so essential. Or when I'm painting, I love listening to it. It really gets all the gears going. And I love it. I truly love it. Like it's the happiest I can be, really, besides doing stuff with my kids. Sitting there when I'm in the right zone and the music's right and I'm painting well, there's just nothing better, right? So to be able to take an album before anyone gets to hear it, listen to it, and just distill the imagery that it's putting into my head, there's just fucking nothing better. I will do that forever. I'll do that forever, as long as the music's good, which thankfully I haven't not liked any of the stuff I've done. Like all the music's been great, and it's just been a blessing and super fun. Super fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it would be really much more difficult if you were given the task of trying to illustrate a cover for some music that you didn't really care for.
Yeah. And there's been commissions and stuff that were like that, not music, not like album cover stuff, but what I imagine I would feel doing a cover for music I didn't like, would feel like some of these commissions, like I'm just not passionate about the project. And I think it comes through in the work, but I need the money. So it's just this really sour kind of result, I still try my hardest. I still try to get it to look as best as I can, but the X factor just isn't there for some stuff. So it's not always there, but I imagine that's how that would feel. But hopefully I just keep doing stuff that I like, because if it keeps trickling on the way it's doing, then, hopefully bands and artists like the ones I'm working for now will ask me, and so I'll just get to stay in that vein, which hasn't just been one genre of music. Like Shawarma's like multi-genre, Nate Bergman's kind of like Americana. I just did a really super awesome fun one for a rapper here in Denver called Wally Clark. Loved it. I love it. I just love, because like, especially like hip hop, like it's all language, right? So it's just constant imagery and metaphors just churning through each song, which is just, it's a treasure trove of things to think about, and visualize and put into the work,
So are you doing this all through the same record company? Are these different record companies? And are you starting to do stuff to market that kind of work to other record companies?
Not specifically. Nate's stuff. I don't know what I'm allowed to say because it's like his debut album and stuff. I don't want to like step on any toes, but yeah, he's on Velocity Records, which is like a little sub record company of Equal Vision. And so, I'm in contact with his manager and stuff, and we're just doing Nate right now, but I'm definitely open to doing his other clients and stuff too, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And hope that happens because there are some really awesome artists on that label, for sure. It's a lot of stuff that I loved as like a teenager, like some of the people on his album, I'm like, at first I thought it was a joke. Like some of the features on there, it's like, dude, I worshipped this guy when I was 16. I worshipped him. And now I'm doing it like, I don't know, crazy shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully, that relationship's good. And definitely want to keep that going for sure. Get deeper into that.
Where do you make the bulk of your art income? Is it from doing these album covers? Is it commissions?
The bulk of it is sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The bulk of it is the client stuff, because that's consistent, so it's like, it's beneficial for me to just put my mind towards that stuff. And like, because I know that it's going to keep returning to me, so it's the client work and commissions is where most of it comes from. There was a period, it's fluctuated, with my personal work, selling a lot, that's doing stuff. But, especially during the pandemic in this last year, it's been more the client stuff. And then I'm like developing this bigger body of work, or rounding off a body of work rather to, I'm going to put out a book here pretty soon within either by the end of the year or early next year. So I'm like rounding all that stuff up. So I haven't been pushing it as much in like a fine art context, because I want it to be in the book. I want some of it to be fresh in the book. Like people are seeing it for the first time and stuff. We have some like amazing ideas for that too, if we want to talk about the book.
Yeah, let's talk about the book because I definitely wanted to. You mentioned that when we talked previous, and I know that's a thing that you're trying to, accomplish this year. And I'm curious about the concept and how you're going to go about it.
Yeah, I'm really fucking excited about it. So it's going to be called Candydeth, and that's kind of why I wanted to get the website rolling. I want it to be like a tandem experience with the website, like have things in the book that you could like scan with your phone, and then like it would open up stuff in the website that you kind of do them concurrently, right? And so that I don't want it to be just like a normal art book, right, where you're just flipping through paintings. My buddy Joe, who worked with me designing the Sam's book, he kind of like organized everything. And if you like look at the back cover and the spine and stuff, there's other little illustrations and stuff. He helped me put all that stuff together. He's a design genius, Joe. So he's helping me do this, and we're pretty much gonna like deconstruct some paintings, right? So that with like transparent pages, so you can like lift off certain elements of the painting as you're flipping through, and like see it in different ways, or like there's TVs in some paintings where the screen will be transparent, showing what's on the page behind, and you can kind of change stuff around. So I want it to be more than just your average like coffee table art book. I want it to be something that you're active in, that you kind of change the pieces around and do like, I really would like it to have I'm working on some like music for it too. So when you're like looking at certain pieces, you could scan something, take you to
like a QR code.
Yep. And then could take you to like the sounds of this next 5 pages. You know what I mean? So I just want it to be like this whole experience. And I'm really excited. It's crazy to feel like I'm like rounding off this, like what I consider my first like official body of work, like coherent body of work, right? And to present it in this way, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I want to like, there's certain like comic book companies that I'm reaching out to talk about what we can do with it. I would love to put it out through something like that. I'm not opposed to doing like a crowdfunding thing either, but because I want to get into the comic world a little bit too. So I want to like start cultivating those relationships. But yeah, I'm looking really forward to it. I just had like one of my first meetings about it yesterday, and it's just going to be great. It's going to be an awesome book for sure. And people can like, I'm going to put updates about it and what's going on with it in candydeth.com. And so yeah, that'll be the place to watch. I mean, I'll be putting stuff on social media obviously too, but yeah, the easy to follow what's happening with the book, since I want them to be tandem, the website and the book. Definitely people should follow the website for sure, because some of those same aesthetics are going to bleed.
So will it have like the augmented reality aspect to it? Is that something you're thinking about incorporating into it, with being able to scan something and then have the sounds and stuff?
We've talked about that. That's something we can do for sure. Nate Bergman, who I'm doing the album and stuff for, we're talking about, me and Joe are doing another project for him, getting into the whole like NFT world. His manager and him wanted to be a part of that a little bit and do something like that. So we've already been kind of like talking about how we would do certain augmented reality moving stuff that you could look at through your phone. Maybe like you're looking at the book through your phone and stuff's changing and you're from the phone view.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely on the table. I don't know, as far as that goes, I don't know what's all going to make the cut. It's definitely something I'm interested in. I want to incorporate technology really bad into like a traditional media. You know what I mean? Because that's where we're going. That's the future. That's like everything we're doing is technology, right?
Right.
And I just want to I want this book to be some kind of missing link, between those.
You love sci-fi, and you very much are, part of kind of at that cusp of really embracing, at least philosophically, it seems like, technology and where it's going. Like we kind of had this conversation the other night that, you see this as a natural evolution of who we are, where some people think that, this might be the end of us or maybe a bad thing in some people's minds. You actually think it's a great thing. and are embracing it and see that it will help kind of catapult us into our next, whatever we look like as beings in the future, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm definitely like, before my alter ego and stuff, a lot of my work was like primarily like androids and different commentary on technology. And it's still in my new work too, but in a completely different aesthetic. But yeah. I think I mentioned like transitive property in maths, like A plus B equals C, C plus A equals B, B plus A equals C. Any combination of the two variables equals the third variable, no matter what combo, right? That's kind of how, in a way, how I look at the presence of technology in nature, right? Because we're of nature, technology is of us, and we're right in the middle of it. So it seems like two different things on either side of us. But if you were to like step back and look at it, it's all the same stream of stuff coming out of the world, right? So I think that's like, I think that's why, one of the reasons why we're here, that sets us apart. Like, yeah, I think that's really important that we do that and like merge with it a little bit, because, the things that influence evolution are before technology, before civilization, it's diet and environment, right? We're at a point now where we control our environment. It's snowing outside, but I'm in shorts right now because this is the environment I'm comfortable in. I can control that, right? You can be anywhere in the world. You can eat whatever you want, So biological evolution is like slowing. Technological evolution is exploding. It's like all that momentum just got shoved into this funnel of technology, right? So I think that's like, it's inevitable kind of, I think, but I think I'm of the mind that I want to embrace it and I want to see where it goes, like the Neuralink, like Elon Musk's Neuralink, hearing him talk about that. It's really interesting, essentially having the internet in your head, which is scary. And there is terrible things that will inevitably come from that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Terrible stuff. But with it will come all of the tools to solve those problems, new problems and new tools to solve them, And I just don't see the point in worrying about it because I just think it's so inevitable. It's interesting. It's a very interesting thing for sure.
So chip in your head, supercomputer in your body, you're all for it?
Make me a cyborg. Make me a cyborg. That's what I want to be. It's yeah. I think I'm for that for sure. If the technology is ever like available and affordable, I would try it. And he said they could take them out and stuff. So like he did some examples on like animals and stuff, like showing some animals with them in and with them out, and you can't, as far as like their heads or whatever, you can't notice. It's flush with the biology, whether it's in or out. But yeah, just crazy. Did you guys see the monkey video he put out with the monkey playing Pong with his mind?
No, I haven't seen that yet. Any of that. We talked about it the other night and I still haven't looked at it.
Oh, it's a trip, man. And that's like one of my favorite quotes in the articles by this guy, Andrew Jackson. He says, when we make a new telescope, we have to point it at something we know, right? Oh my gosh, this ties into like influence and like making your voice as an artist too, but make a new technology, make a new telescope, you point it at something you recognize, and then you explore from there, right? And that's what he was saying was this macaque monkey playing Pong with his mind is something everybody can be like, oh, I get that. That's crazy. That's amazing. But it's just the first little trick, right? He wants to be able to be like someone speaking to you in Mandarin and you don't know Mandarin. And before you respond, you know Mandarin.
Yeah.
Like crazy shit. But yeah, that does tie into like, developing as an artist too. What I was saying about like, you start and you kind of like look at something, look at your influences, what's good about what they're doing. And then once you know that, then you can kind of explore and branch off into new areas. There's a phenomenal painter. I always forget her last name because her Instagram's Julie, the letter B and creative. She just got signed on this art company's pro team. And that's how I like found out about her. But super cool lady. And she was telling me, I forget the title of the book, but she was telling me how like the things that we see in art are kind of like precursors to what we then do later in science and technology. You know, like if you look at some art, the concepts there are always like, it's always looked at first from art. You know what I mean? And then it like distills down into science, you know, like we can see certain things before we can prove that they're there, kind of thing, you know?
It totally makes sense, right? Like things that you read, if you read science fiction, these things that these writers come up with, or, you know, watching Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever, those become part of the consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody goes, I like that idea, and they figure out how to make it come to fruition.
100%. Yeah, because you hear that all the time, right? Like when the flip phones first started coming out, the ones that slide, don't open like a book, they like slide. That was like a Matrix thing. Like, oh, this is like the Matrix phone, you know, and stuff like that. And then if you look at when I heard her say that, I thought about because I love sci-fi stuff, so I started thinking about the common themes that are in sci-fi now, and it's like if you look at like Arrival, Interstellar, there's this time element that keeps getting regurgitated in sci-fi where like time's not linear, you know, that we kind of just are being forced to look at it linear, that it actually exists as like almost from a fourth dimensional perspective. It's almost like a solid, like everything's kind of happening at once. And those sci-fi is like exploring that a lot. And I'm just like, and I keep hearing more about it. Alan Moore, the writer from who wrote, you know, V for Vendetta, From Hell, Watchmen, he's explored this idea too, and he explains like the Einstein's block universe theory, right? Which it goes back to Einstein. So I mean, I just feel like we're on the verge of like making these discoveries, but like that if you look at like a strip of film, right, it's like a solid piece with images on it, right? But it's a solid. But if you move it and shine light through it, it gives the image the illusion of a life happening, right? And that's kind of the idea, right? It's like we're getting almost like whatever could be perceived as like, in that analogy, light from the fourth dimension or whatever, shining through here, giving us the illusion of a life. But in reality, it's like a solid. Like there isn't really a past and a future. Everything's kind of happening. We're looking at it through a tunnel, basically, you know, which is a trip, you know, because that like starts to challenge like the existence of free will and stuff, you know, because if it's a solid and everything's happening at once, like, you know, you can't have the piece of your phone that was 10 minutes ago or the piece of your phone that's 10 minutes from now. It's all here right now, you know. To sort of think of time like that, it really makes you wonder about free will and stuff like that. Which, you know, since we're in the position we are, it wouldn't really make any difference whether it was there or not, because we can't perceive it, whether it's there or not, right?
Right.
But yeah, as far as, you know, art kind of predating what happens in science and stuff, I just keep seeing that, you know, and those are the stories I keep getting attracted to. And I'm just waiting for the day that we have some kind of like, you know, way to explain that to people that makes sense, and some kind of validation. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
Have you ever listened to Sam Harris? He's a neuroscientist.
Oh, yeah.
He has a whole thing on free will and the fact that we probably don't have it. And it's really interesting.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some of my favorite talks and stuff from him, and his AI stuff. Obviously, I'm interested in all of that.
I think the interesting thing about, like you said, with the implants and is what'll happen is the first people that'll get them will be the people with money and power. And so the average Joe will not have access to that. And of course, with knowledge comes power. And so it's just kind of feeds itself, right? If you have all the knowledge of everything that's ever been said or written, you know, like the internet, you know, Google's in your mind. You have access to download anything, whether it's, you know, you know.
Yeah. And if the people in power have that, you know, it's like, how does that trickle down work?
Yeah.
Are we getting a diluted product? You know?
Right.
It's definitely interesting. The thing though, I think Sam Harris touches on it a little bit. If we did reach that level, we had like super AI in us and stuff. I don't know if those same dynamics would still exist.
Yeah.
I think it might kind of overtake human will a little bit, you know, and like we kind of just bypass all of our bullshit. Maybe there'd be new bullshit, but I think the presence of like super AI, I think we would bypass a lot of the shit that gets in our way, or I guess from its way, in its way. Again, which is kind of scary, but it's also like, maybe that's what we're supposed to do. Leave this consciousness. And going back to like the time as a solid object thing, like, maybe that's how we start to observe things from that perspective,
Yeah.
Very interesting. I'm looking forward to just, the answers of it, It's fun to follow along. It's like all the stories I've loved growing up, like coming into the real world, It's like a nerd's dream.
It's an exciting time to be alive,
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So many things are happening. Have you guys ever looked at the model of the evolution of technology, how it's like exponential, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we eventually hit that the event horizon of like the singularity, essentially.
Yep.
And everybody feels differently about like when that could come, but it definitely it's coming. Technology is not slowing down, and every new advancement makes the next advancement happen twice as fast. They're just going. Like because I think Terrence McKenna, or maybe it was Alan Moore actually, who was like, nobody's really in control, kind of like speaking to conspiracy and stuff, that we're kind of just on a train without a conductor, kind of figuring shit out as we go, and we're just hurtling through. And I think, it's unstoppable at this point. That trajectory is happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's going to happen no matter what. There's nothing we can do about it individually or, well, even collectively right now. Once the technology, and like you were saying, once you hit singularity where technology and humanity combine in a way that humanity doesn't really matter anymore because the technology is so advanced, that's the scary part, right? Because maybe it realizes, you're my problem, and I'm going to get rid of you.
100%.
Right.
And that's like why Sam Harris talks about this too. That's why Elon wants to make the Neuralink. That was his inspiration, was, okay, well, maybe if the super AI comes into existence within us, we become a parent organism to it, and like it sees us as an extension of itself, right?
Okay.
Rather than it comes into being in a computer over here and sees us as a separate thing, right?
Yeah.
It's identifying with our biology. It's reading our biology, which is
That's
pretty
interesting.
It's pretty genius. It's pretty genius.
It
Like,
is.
I didn't think about it that way.
Incorporating it into us before it, like you said, becomes its own entity and decides that, like you said, we're a problem and it eradicates us. So getting ahead of the curve and incorporating it into our own systems.
Yeah, it's a trip. But it still makes what we know as humanity kind of irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
But instead of it becoming something that's tossed away, it becomes part of the evolution of what's next.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
So sick.
Hey, I want to circle back to your art, and we want to talk about some of your pieces. And so, Wes had pulled up and wanted to talk about this particular piece. It's actually for sale on your Candydeth website. The title of it's called Invitation.
Yeah. That was actually for a show at Valkyrie. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a dark carnival theme. And it's funny, actually. This actually was a great am I going to get canceled piece, because at first it was like underneath this completely deformed clown, there's a painting of a ticket booth at a carnival, and everything's lit all colorful around it. And then in the ticket booth, it's kind of dark with like a blue light. And there's one of the ticket guys, none of them are paying attention. They're all like doing stuff. And one of the ticket guys is like, getting a fellatio from one of his female friends. And there's someone else in the ticket booth, like taking pictures of him and stuff. And then there's a guy actually selling the tickets, like all bored and stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. So I started painting this clown over it. And this is one of my pivot foot exercises, is pieces like this where I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make 2 dark marks where the eyes are going to be. Just 2 paint strokes, eye sockets, shadow under the nose, and a mouth. So 4 marks. And then I just start going, and I don't keep any other like normal anatomy in mind. I allow every little stroke to be a potential extra feature or deformed feature. And I just go until I start, texturing skin, and then this like creature's there, And this is one of those, and it's kind of something I do in between bigger pieces. So I have a lot of these like portrait style busts of strange characters, and this is a part of that ongoing thing. And he was kind of like the ticket, which normally would say admit 1, just says admit it. Like, you don't want to come to this show, even if I'm giving you this ticket. He's smiling. He looks happy, right? I mean, he looks like a happy guy, but you're not taking that ticket from him, and it's kind of sad. And it's like, there's an empathy there for it. That's like kind of, I was exploring that, like, oh man, he looks hideous. He's an abomination, right? But he just wants you to come check out the show. Like, but admit it, you're not gonna. And then the little smiley face, that's also kind of like a reoccurring like motif in my work, where I kind of like put in my own little emoji commenting on the scene. He would go. He's going to the show. He's already behind him if we're looking at like the light. So he's already there. But yeah, I really do. This was a really fun piece. And the peacock feather is kind of like, I associate that with performance. It's like peacocking, like, look at me. And then a detail not a lot of people notice. It's really hard to notice if you're not looking at it in person. I've actually got this piece here, actually. But there's like a tiny little like mole on his tongue, like in the back of his mouth. There's like this little furry mole.
Oh yeah, I can just barely see it in there.
Yeah, I can see it too.
Yeah, that's like kind of one of those like creeping details. It's just, it's unnerving. He's got flies in his mouth too.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's the kind of stuff I like. Like, let's just get weird, demented. The flies are rainbow colors, so it's not, maybe they're candy. Maybe it's not gross,
So, and I know the piece, once it becomes, and I've said this before, once the piece becomes public, it's for me to interpret or somebody else to interpret. But what do you think does it have an overall meaning to you as the artist?
I mean, kind of like I said, the feeling, like I mentioned before, I'm always trying to like dial in on something I'm feeling. Is that empathy almost for something that might not get it. There is like a deeper underlying theme here. Where, the appearance of something might make you uncomfortable, but it doesn't devalue its need to be noticed and taken care of and stuff like that. Like people hate those fucking Sarah McLachlan commercials where it's like, hey, I know you were just watching this really funny movie, but I'm going to make you feel like fucking shit if you don't adopt this child. Because look at this crying child, that's unnerving. And you want to get back to the movie, but it doesn't like dismiss the fact that there is still that kid there, There are things that like aren't pretty to look at, but it doesn't, just because we choose not to look at them doesn't mean that those problems disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we all need to be like this peanut emoji sun guy and just be like, bro, I know you're disgusting. I love you though. And I'm going to go to your show.
If you would just close one of your mouths.
Yeah. Keep one of them closed. Like, try to do your best to look human.
Is he smiling and the bottom mouth looks like he's screaming at the same time? Maybe he's just asking, come to my show. I don't know.
Or maybe he's just burping up this mole.
Oh my God.
But see, this is kind of the reaction that I want. I know that at first it's like, whoa, what the fuck? But I want people to laugh at it,
Yeah.
When I was doing my alter ego, one of my ideas for the shows was I'm going to hire like female comedians to go as her and just kind of make fun of the pieces when she's talking to people at the show. Because that's kind of the vibe I want, you know. I want it to be looked at and laughed at, laughing with it and at it sometimes, but it kind of disarms, approaching it from like a comedic way kind of disarms the unnerving part of it, you know. You can get closer to it.
Yeah.
I love the story, and now hearing that there's another painting underneath it, I even love it. This piece even more. And Wes was the one that picked this piece, but now that you've talked about it, I love it. And so it's available. It's 11 by 14 oil painting on floater frame wood panel, ready to hang. $425. If you're interested, go check it out on the Candydeth website. Seek it out.
Absolutely.
I really want to see the painting underneath now.
I'll send it to you. I still have pictures of it. I saw it the other day and I was like, oh shit, I forgot that was under there.
So if they x-ray like they do some of the masters, would it show up on an x-ray? Does it?
A lot of my pieces.
Is that right? I love that.
Because like I said, sometimes my slot machine brain comes to an end and I'm like, what the fuck do I do to this painting? And I have to put it down and get slotted on something else. And then when I come back, I'm like, oh, I'm going to cover up this whole part right here. I'm going to add this. And, you know, so a lot of my paintings, if you did do that x-ray shit, you would just see, you know, completely other stories sometimes.
That's awesome.
You know?
I love that idea. That's great. Yeah. Little hidden gems.
Yeah. And it makes it fun too. It makes the creative aspect more interesting. There's more of like a, I guess, improvisational element.
Yeah.
Here's the other piece that Wes was wanting to talk about. Yeah. It's called Cute Shoes.
Yeah, this is one of my personal favorites.
Oh, good.
Oh boy. Yeah, this one is, I consider it like the sister piece of Poser, which is another one on here. Because I did them kind of together. Same kind of idea where I wanted to have like this bright, colorful background and this colorful character, but just everything is wrong. Everything's wrong. Nothing's right. And kind of going back to the clown, this ongoing like character portrait series that I do, I think of them all as like extraterrestrial, right? And they come here and they see the humans and they're kind of like shapeshifters and they want to be like a human, right? They're trying to like fit in, but they just can't quite get it right, you know? So she or it is, you know, trying to appear human. You know, she's got the bag, she's sitting, she looks great in some ways, and she's also got multiple faces blossoming out of her neck, which is not right. And so that's kind of why I called it Cute Shoes, because I'm like, you meet this person and you're like, oh, what? You got some cute shoes though.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. This one is pretty. I actually have a time lapse of this one that I don't think I ever posted. But yeah, I filmed this one start to finish. I should put that up. But yeah, this one there's also maybe a touchy topic here, sexually, you know, because we got a call from Dick, which could be me. I mean, my name is Richard. I could be calling her, or it could be, you know, her little booty call, calling her, you know, which is kind of weird. And then the lollipop and the takeout, which you know, I'll let people like read what's on the box for themselves, but it's a little vulgar. But yeah, I'd like to have those playful aspects in there too. Like I'm trying to, like, you know, crystallize some weirdness with some super bubblegummy, like, what did I think of driving the other day? Bubblegum metal. Like if you could somehow take like a Ariana Grande and smash it into like a Cannibal Corpse, like a bubblegum metal. That's kind of what I'm trying to do, is like, yeah. I want to give you all the eye candy that could be in cartoons and stuff, but it's just unnerving. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the initial response.
Yeah. Please tell me.
The initial response is probably, this is weird, or it's, peculiar. Yeah. It's kind of hard to look at. But I always think it resonates with me because I'm like, I definitely doing this podcast and looking at a lot of art these days. You just can't take things at face value. And I had this conversation with my wife the other night because she's like, there's a lot of stuff she just doesn't, she's like, I just can't wrap my brain around certain things. And I'm like, it's not that you can't wrap your brain around it. It's just that you need to kind of train yourself to see things, and you need to spend time with it. So you need to kind of, in this world that we live in when we're just bombarded with images all the time, I think it's easier just to, brush it off like, oh, that's weird, or that makes me feel uncomfortable. And that's the extent of it, right? Like that's our society. What you do is really brilliant, I think, in that you're telling this story. It might make you feel an emotion, but if you actually spend time with it, you'll like start to get the little, like it's like an inside joke, right? Like you start seeing
100%.
the little things the little details. And that's, I think, where the appreciation comes in. And that's what I love about your work. I think it's brilliant, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's like, there's an inside joke. That's what I want people to like get with it, is like, to digest it a little bit. And what was I going to say? There was something that you said that triggered a thought here about consuming art. Like it is an art. Like listening to music is an art. Like it's easy to forget that because the artist is creating the consumable thing, right? But when you're talking about any of the arts, there is an art to consuming it. What am I looking for? Like, these movies are the same genre. What makes them different? Like there is an art to consuming it for sure. And that's, and maybe, that's a characteristic of my work, is being like specifically for that, like I'm not trying to complete your living room to go with the couch and the lampshade. I mentioned this the other day. My art, I think, fits more in with, people who are collecting like Batman cutouts that are in their like man cave or something. You know what I mean? Like it's a storytelling. It's storytelling. You're not gonna, unless you're like a huge movie fan, if you're trying to make like a Bed Bath and Beyond type living room, you're not gonna hang up your Blade Runner poster there. You're going to get something that goes with the colors of the whatever, I'm making that stuff that's like going to go next to the Blade Runner poster and your collection of action figures and shit like that,
So people that are listening, you need to go to Richard's Instagram and kind of look at the breadth of his work. So one of the things that I really enjoy about your work is that you explore a multitude of not only the subject matter, not only the creepy or the things that make you feel uncomfortable, but there's more straightforward stuff. And yep. There's a lot of different, what I love about you as an artist is, some artists have a very specific style, but you are not afraid to like delve into like different things. Like there's a variety there. And I love that coming out from an artist. I appreciate that. This one we talked about the other night, and actually the more I think about it, this is probably one of the it definitely ranks up there with some of the best pandemic art that I've seen so far.
Okay.
And you said that this was a live stream that you did. This is part of one of your painting classes that you did? Is that what you said?
No, this was just for fun. I hadn't like streamed any painting in a long time, and I was like, shit, I should start that. Like that's a good way to like get people involved with the work and have more of a connection to it, is to like see it come to fruition. So I've been trying to do that once a week. I'm not great at keeping up with it, but yeah, so that's what this was I just sat down like, all right, I'm gonna see what I can do before I have to pick up the kids from school. And then yeah, it kind of came off of I had gone to see a UFC fight with my friend a couple of days before this, and there was this girl at the bar with us who had like super voluptuous lips, and my friend was like, hey, he was also a woman, she was like, hey, I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but your lips look amazing. And she was like, oh girl, it's herpes. Like herpes swelled her lips up.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it was so funny. She owned it and it made it so much better. But I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad we didn't share a cig with it. Not that she would have given us one, but that was a thought that we had, like, oh, we need to go bum a cig. Yeah, I was just so happy that didn't happen. And so I kind of put Capri's in there, like he bumped this cig, because he doesn't look like a Capri smoker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a little harder. He might have some like Marlboro Reds or something. He clearly got these smokes from someone else. And that narrative kind of just comes as I'm going, you know, and looking at what the face is. And if you watch the live streams, I'm constantly talking to myself, like, why is he doing this? What is he? Oh, maybe he's like did this today, or like I'm creating the story kind of as I'm looking at the expression happening, you know. And then that's we're not sharing any pandemic cigs.
Yeah, so that's the title of this, right? Pandemic Sig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is on his Richard's Instagram, and yeah, I love this portrait. It's
a great piece.
Cool. It's a great piece. But yeah, take a moment and scroll to Instagram, and you'll see such a variety of things. It's fantastic, man.
So
I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted one of you guys.
Oh, I was just going to ask, kind of going back to trying to wrap your head around art. Just generally speaking, I'm assuming because you're an artist, you go out and look at other people's art, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're going out and gallery hopping and looking at people's art, what are you thinking about as maybe an artist or a connoisseur of art when you're looking at piece? What helps kind of let you wrap your head around what they're trying to convey, or what are you trying to get out of it?
Yeah. So I think just as a general rule, and this depends on the piece, but as a general rule, I'm looking at like technical stuff first. Unless it is just like whatever is on the piece is just like the concept or the subject is unavoidably, you have to address that first kind of thing. I love looking at that first. You know, I love that. I like how they're applying the paint, and you can kind of see like, you know, where they are in their art journey kind of, it's from an oil painting perspective, like how much are they studying oil painting? You know, there's different levels kind of where you can, I don't want to get too into this because some people can make it all the way to the end of their career doing intro level types of techniques and still make amazing work. But I like to look at that stuff. Like, is this amazing oil painting completely flat and smooth, you know? Or is this, if I look at it from the side, or is there noticeable texture? Are they caking paint on there? Why? What thing has the caked paint on it? Why is that the textured thing? You know, I love looking at that stuff so much. And then, and then, you know, I love thinking about the concepts and stuff too, because, you know, the storytelling thing we've been over, like, I love looking for that. But yeah, I think initially I love technique because I'm constantly learning, you know.
Right.
Painting is so old, you know, we've been doing it since we were bored in caves, you know. There is so much to learn. You can't learn it all in your life, you know, you just can't. So there's just always something to be learned, always some new technique to pick up on. And that's one of the things I think is unique to painting, is you can look at the artist's work and start to understand how they got there, you know, by looking at the layers, looking how they did it. You can see it, you know. I think that, you know, some of that kind of comes, some of it's more obvious. Some of it kind of comes with doing the work yourself, you know, and then you can kind of see. But yeah, I just love, it's a learning thing, really. It's a learning thing. Yeah. I want to learn. I want to like absorb it, you know, and that's kind of where the, you know, trying different styles and stuff comes from. My buddy Kevin said a good punk band plays a punk song and then a funk song and then like a fast cow punk country song and then a punk song and then a metal song, you know, like they're rounded out, you know. And I'm just, I've always been of the approach, like I need to do all of the shit that I like to see as a way to distill down something where I can use it all, you know, cherry pick my favorite techniques and combine them and see how they work together and see if I can make anything new with that, you know. And that's something I'm kind of trying to cater more now. with the website. The website is going to be, and the Candydeth book is going to be all stuff that I consider my accumulation of styles, you know, like the work I want to put forward is like, this is my brand, you know what I mean? So that'll start to become a little bit more clear, but yeah, I just can't do the same shit over and over again, you know?
Right.
So if I need to forge a style that doesn't bore me, you know, I need to be doing shit, you know? I started drawing on this painting pyramid. This is a work in progress right here with a pencil the other day. I was like, oh, that, like, cause I got stuck on it. So I had to put it up, you know, I got completely stuck on it. I was looking at it the other day, like seeing stuff I could do. And I just started sketching it like right onto it with a pencil that I can cover up with paint, but I don't know. I want it all there to see all the different techniques. I want to be able to do it all. And it's conceptually too, you know, I have the gross clown guy with the funny little smiley face behind him. It's like, I need it all. I got to have some distillation of what I enjoy seeing and what I'm doing, you know? So I'm always, to go back to your question, I'm always trying to learn from looking at paintings. Why do I like it? Why do I like it? You know?
And that kind of question came out of me talking to an abstract expressionist and saying, what do you look for? You know, what should a person be looking for? And, you know, and they were talking about, you know, like you kind of like what you said, I'm looking for brushstroke. I'm looking for contrast, how they're playing with whites and blacks and use of space and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I think that helps people like, you know, I'm a layman when it comes to art. I took art history and all that, but it helps people that aren't artists that listen to this podcast to give them an idea. Like if I go to sit at the Clifford Steele Museum, well, how can I experience this to get a deeper meaning from?
Yeah. Like how do I get in the front door?
Yeah.
Cause that's a problem, right? With an artist connecting to an audience sometimes, you know, like how do I get them to connect if they're not like, you know, like I think about, you know, some of my family that aren't artistic and they're just like, I don't fucking know what's going on with that kid, you know, like how do I like, it's human. The things I'm talking about are human. They are human too. You know, there is a way. So like, how do you do that? But yeah, I mean, looking at the technical stuff and it's like, I mean, there's just so much to learn. Even what you said, the space, how they're using the space. Sometimes it is such a virtuistic move to have an empty area, you know, because if it's effective, then you can kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like deconstruct why they made that choice, you know, because sometimes a space is heavy, you know, it feels heavy. It's next to something small or something, you know, which to someone who's not experienced looking at art, they might be like, why is this painting 20 grand and they only did a thing right there?
Right.
In all this space. And it's like, well, that's kind of the feeling they're going for. They need that space. That space was made. It wasn't like, it wasn't unaddressed. It was made, you know? And there's just, and you know, it comes down to like the effort you want to put, like the interest, you know, some people just aren't going to do it. You know, there has to be like some type of interest that's piqued that makes you want to take another look, you know? And that's one of the problems that we're trying to solve as artists for sure.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you commenting on that because I think it's helpful for everybody.
Yeah. I definitely think so too. To just like appreciate, you know, I don't know. And there's like, you know, you see, like I see this with my dad a lot too. Like he'll be watching cartoons or something with my kids, and he's like, "This is so stupid." And I'm like, you got to think about it. It's how it was made for the kid, and then that's your door in, and then you can start appreciating like, oh my god, this is like 90% of kids movies are way better than any adult movie. You know, it's like they're so well crafted and so genius. You know, all you have to do is find that one in. Like, don't be like, why am I 70 watching this stupid shit? No, like, what was the goal here? Like, let's find a way into here. And what was the goal? Did they achieve their goal? Because an adult made this, you know? There's always a door in if someone wants to look. So people just don't want to look.
And I love a lot of times those kids movies, they play right to the adults too, because we understand the subtext,
the nuances.
So,
yeah.
Right.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast that I made some art with my granddaughter. Yep. And I started showing her I showed Rothko and Jackson Pollock and Clifford Still. We were just kind of messing around on the computer. And John Singer Sargent, and she just was like amazed at all of them, and it was kind of fun. That's because awesome. As an adult, I was judgmental about Rothko, Jackson and Mondrian especially, and I was really kind of like, I want to see how so I would say, what do you think of this? And she's like, oh, that's really neat. I like that, and not a negative word about any of them. And, and that's but I thought it was just really interesting, seeing it through a kid's eyes almost, if you can.
Yeah. And that's like something people might mistake for, they're not experienced yet. But it's like, no, you've been dulled down by the world. Like right. They're seeing it right, Right. Like they start off the bat with stuff that, we should have held on to, you know what I mean? But this reminds me of talking the other day about oh my God, I'm spacing on his name. He has hilarious Instagram stories. You guys interviewed him. Oh my God. Paul Weiner. The artist, what was his name? Kehinde
Wiley.
Yeah. How he, you look at Kehinde, hyper realistic, vibrant color, a certain kind of art, very, realism, a little bit of surreal stuff, whatever. Highly, highly skilled oil painter, And I love that he commissioned Paul for an abstract piece. And I was telling Todd the other day that speaks volumes to the audience, right? To see somebody who may only be a Kehinde fan and that style of art, because it's like, oh my God, you can see the sweat coming out of his pores on this painting. Like, that is incredible. And then they might see an abstract piece and be like, well, this isn't that. But to see the creator of that artwork then say, I'm going to commission this other kind because it's brilliant, then it makes that viewer who it's not clicking with be like, what? And then there it is. There's the door in right there. Just what? Why? That doesn't make sense, and then it starts to make sense. You start to look at it different.
This journey for me, and I've said this 1,000, here we go, Todd, has been a complete learning experience. That, like I said, I started to do I started to do a really bad I guess job of a Rothko, just to say, not to see how easy it was, but just to see what it was all about. And it was fun. And my son actually said, I want to take that home. My granddaughter's dad. And I was like, you can have it. And, it's pretty sad, but he was like, I think it's awesome. So cool, and he thought it was just brilliant. So I appreciate that. And I think I'm going to continue doing, cause I got pastels. I'm going to start playing around with maybe a Clifford Still style, obviously on a small level, but just to see it.
Point
just
the telescope where first.
Right. Cause I hated that stuff when I was younger. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, me too. I did not fucking get it. I just,
right.
I was looking at fucking Spider-Man and shit. I was like, what is this? This isn't Spidey? Come on. But yeah, and I love it now. It just feels good. It just feels good. I mean, as you play with pastels and stuff, it doesn't even matter. It just feels good, like making a thing and just starting with the first mark and just seeing how you can change it, change it. And then it's so weird, like thinking about composition and stuff. You might make a really interesting thing right here, and then you put like a blue mark or something over here, and it totally changes the whole feeling that you had, because it talks. They talk to each other. The colors and the composition, they talk. It's such a trip, man. It's such a trip. And that's another thing I love is talking about, looking at things from like a teaching perspective. I've been doing a little bit of, as another, consistent form of income, been doing some like Zoom drawing classes. And I loved that, dude. I can get just as passionate about talking about putting pieces together for the first time as putting, this huge one I've been working on since August. Like I love it. I love it. So
get
great.
excited. Listen to you hear it.
Yeah.
It's
Right?
exciting.
It's just beautiful. I love seeing people lean into creating shit. You know, I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Really brilliant.
So how long have you been doing the Zoom thing? Because I want to talk a little bit about business before we sign off today.
Totally.
This is something that you're able to monetize as an artist, teaching via Zoom.
Yeah. So a collector of mine, again, this came out of the pandemic. Like a collector of mine was like, from Florida. Her daughter, because of the pandemic and school and remote learning and this and that, wasn't able to do an art class the way she wanted. So she reached out to me and she was like, do you even do that? Is that something you'd be willing to do? And I was like, fuck yeah, absolutely. I would love to do that. And so we've been at it for, I don't know, maybe 6 months now. I'm not positive. It's been a while, but it's great because on multiple levels, business wise, I get money every month. It's great. It's something I can always count on, but then in like a workflow way, at first I was like, shit, this is like, how long do I want to do this? This is like interrupting my work, my commissions, my everything. But I really quickly started realizing like, this is making everything better, because when you have to talk about what you're doing, you start to realize shit that you were kind of just doing on autopilot, and you learn more about your own approach through teaching. So teaching is learning. It's like it's two sides of the same coin. They're inseparable, and then just the satisfaction of seeing her like she did this drawing of Rihanna that's like fucking amazing. I'm like, what do I even teach you now? And that's been a fun part, is like, how am I gonna, what's a new tidbit of information I can get across through this lesson plan, so I always like sit down the day before. I'm like, what's something we can focus on, like creating distance or atmosphere. Like we did the face. You can draw a face. You're great. What else can we do? Like, how do we create different spaces and feelings and stuff, different ways of mark making and whatnot. Because I'm teaching her in a weird way too. Like, I'm not teaching her with a pencil. We take like ground graphite in a powder and dip a paintbrush in that, and then draw with the paintbrush with the powder, and then do a lot of drawing with an eraser. So you get like a much softer look, and then at the very end going in with pencil and stuff. But yeah, it's just, what an experience. Like, that's something I want to do a lot more of, is teaching. I fucking love it so much. From a business standpoint, it is another thing. It's just another thing. Like, for me personally, I'm always just trying to find little ways that I can have money. It's easy to think about like, I need to do this job to get my income. And it's like one thing, one exchange, my work, this money. But you can do different things at once, and it's all time management. Like, I do that bi-weekly on Tuesdays. So it's like, I still have time to do other stuff and have these other forms of income that I'm working on, like my client stuff and commissions and whatnot. And also get this other thing, it's good to have, not to limit yourself. Kind of like I was like, oh, I'm only going to be a gallery artist. And then as soon as I said, okay, what else can I do? Then other forms of income started popping up. And then pretty soon I don't like feel weird saying I'm an artist at like parties, because I'm like, I have it sounds cheap, but I have the money to back it up. You know what I mean? It's like, I am doing it now. You know what I mean? And it's because I decided to open my options up and be like, where else can I get income? It doesn't have to be from a gallery or like a collector every time. You know what I mean? There's other ways I can enjoy my skills and monetize it that aren't that, so again, it's a story you tell yourself, like, oh, I'm only a gallery artist. It's like, no, start telling yourself I'm an artist, period. I'm a working artist. And then a lot of other options start blossoming. Apply that creative thought to, what are other things I can do? Like, can I do a poster for like a restaurant? There's just a million things. There's a million things, as long as you don't define yourself in a limiting way.
So are you just teaching to one person, or are you teaching to multiple people via Zoom?
Yeah, and right now it's just her. It's just
okay.
Her. There's been a couple that have like come in and out. Like, they don't want to, they do like a class or two, a little session or two.
Mm-hmm.
but she's the solid one that's been there the whole time, and it's continuing, because I gotta, with materials and stuff, it's like more expensive than people might assume, so some people don't want to keep up with it, but she has, and it's been great. And I would love to pick up more students too. So if anybody listening wants drawing lessons or painting lessons, you can do that over Zoom.
Sweet. That's awesome. What I was going to ask, if you were open to people reaching out to you. And
oh my God, I would love it.
Okay, great. Love it. And I know artists that are doing, like they do like a whole, like basically a seminar. It's like a couple hour seminar where you can subscribe, or, you pay your fee or whatever, and then you can have people from all over the world, right? Like 120 people or more logged into your, Zoom seminar, and it's a good revenue stream. So,
yeah. And I actually I recommend that to people too, to do the seminars, because that's what I did with Chet back when I, first decided I wanted to try to pursue this. Was like, traveled to Arizona by myself. I'd known people there because I was touring with my band there. And so I'd met people on tour, and I was like, oh, I'll ask them. I'm going to go stay with them and like learn from Chet at this seminar. And I swear to God, I learned more in, 4 hours or whatever it was than I did it 4 fucking years at university. I was teaching my teacher shit at the university. I'm like, I'm going to be 80 grand in debt, so I can show you how to do this. Like, come on. It's driving me crazy. Not that every, art school is good, and it is. I did learn a lot. I wouldn't change those experiences for anything. But you don't have to do it,
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the quickest way to become an artist. Go to the seminars. Who do you like? Because nowadays they're probably teaching. They probably have a seminar somewhere. Go to it, learn from that person that you love, because it's going to go straight to heart, You're going to hear it. You're not just, or how do I say this? You're not going to be just hearing what they're saying. You're going to be listening. You're going to be taking it in, because you respect them. You already love their work, and now you can learn from them. Most artists are doing that. Most big artists too, take the seminars.
And it's an investment in your art, and it's investment in your career. So it makes sense to do that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really passionate about that for sure.
The other thing I see a lot of is webinars where they'll pre-record everything, and then you just join up as you become a fan or whatever, and then you have access to all these different little classes. That's another great way to make some revenue for an artist.
That's something I'm going to do for sure. Like record some of my classes, and then I want like a Patreon setup for that, where I can just have classes, for different tiers of pledges and stuff, where people can kind of like tune into the lesson and do it at their own pace, because usually, like even in art school, your classes are like 2.5 hours, and it's still like not really enough, and so they're long, and not everybody has the time to like sit down for 4 hours and work on something. And they, I want them to get their money's worth out of the lesson. So would be cool if it was pre-recorded. They could get started and pause it and go do whatever and come back and finish up, I think that's a brilliant model.
Yeah.
For teaching too. You don't get the one-on-one conversation as directly, which I think is really cool.
But I think it's a great
information there.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start, especially for like if you're doing beginner classes. Like here's the basis. Like here's a color wheel. Yeah, and these are opposite colors, and the stuff you would learn in first year of art school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the idea of doing the Patreon that way. I guess I hadn't thought about it, but that you could be a Patreon and you could do this Patreon account, and then what you get in return is these classes. So I like that kind of reciprocal thing that you would have going on. I think that's genius.
Yeah. And I can't like claim that idea, like Chet, who I still, talk to fairly regularly. That's kind of how he has his setup. He has like a mentorship tier. Other artists are doing similar things where you can get like, you could tune into certain exclusive like live streams of pieces being created, which then of course you can talk to them. You could type in stuff while you're watching and whatnot. And yeah, I think that's a great model. I think it's a really great model, because with a lot of painters, you know, a lot of the hardcore fans are artists too, you know, and they want to learn. That's part of why they're interested, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something I just want to lean into teaching in any way, really.
Well, my experience with teaching, I teach martial arts, or I not so much now, but and I learn more from teaching than just doing, you know, the techniques over and over. When I had to teach a young girl who was, you know, she weighed like 115 pounds, but I had to teach her jujitsu moves. Well, she couldn't muscle through. So you had to teach her, you know, the technique correctly and with finesse and tweak it for her. And it was just like eye-opening. Yeah. So it's amazing what you learn as the teacher. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Like having to account. Yeah, that's interesting. Cause yeah. What was it you said? It was jujitsu?
Yeah. It was traditional Japanese jujitsu. So throws and wrist locks and.
Yeah. Which is like, yeah, that's like, those are like body puzzles, you know? That's what I've always thought of jujitsu, as almost like a human Rubik's Cube.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't have any experience with it, but I've, you know, watched a little bit of MMA and stuff like that. But yeah, that'd be great. I never considered like teaching someone like a child, something like that. You have to account for the weight difference and like really have to think about how am I going to show them the way to do this move effectively without hurting them or something. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or without being unmovable for them.
Yeah.
You know, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. Yeah. See, teaching's just the shit.
Yeah. Because it makes you think about your technique, whether it's, let's say, using a knife or whatever, a blade, it makes you actually think about it to explain it. So then you're like, oh,
exactly. Yeah. And then you get insight into your own thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's why, I mean, it's almost like two sides of the same coin, inseparable thing. Teaching is learning.
I have one more business question. How do you, and this is something that, we discuss a lot, but how do you go about pricing your art?
Oh my God. Yeah. This is always a thing with artists that's hard. And even like experienced ones are like, sometimes they just let the gallery market inform how they're doing that, I mean, if you're starting out trying to price your shit, you kind of just have to take a stab at it, look at it, get a number in your head. And when it equals what it feels good, put it out there and see if it sells. If it sells, keep pricing things like that, and then scale it accordingly to the sizes. If it doesn't, drop it down a little bit, because when you're starting out, you got to get the sales first. And then, every year you could like put your prices up a little bit, a margin up, as you make sales, and, you can gauge that scale at your own pace, like some artists do it every year. Some artists do it after like a giant sale or something. They'll like be like, okay, well now this smaller one's $50 more or something, so me right now, I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm still working towards the price that I feel my shit's worth, but I can't just come out, even if someone wants something for a bigger price. Sometimes I can't be like, or if they think it's worth more, they're like, oh man, I would pay you more for this. Like, why is this? It'll turn some buyers off too if it's too low. But it's like, no, I can't, because if I sell this to you for this price, that means all this other shit's going to go up and I'm going to lose all those sales, because now it's out of my personal little market that I've made and it's out of there now, So it can kind of fuck you on the back end. So I feel like you should always start, again, gauge it, put out the price. If it sells, great, try to maintain it. If it's slowing down, go down. You don't want to do it after I don't know. Because you can fuck over your collectors too. You don't want to go down either too much, because then you're devaluing previously sold pieces. So you have to do it. But when you're starting out, I think it's okay. Just find the gauge where it's working, where your hot spot is, and then work up from there as you sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always, oh my God, I'm constantly thinking about that shit. Just an ongoing like morphing thing. It's like a little skin tag on the beast that is this business.
Seeing a theme here: moles and skin tags and
anything uncomfortable and disgusting. Put Put it in my cereal bowl. we're having breakfast.
Oh man.
There's a little nod to that analogy in this big painting.
Nice.
I'll show it to you guys actually since we're here. You guys can get a little sneak peek.
Nice.
Yeah. This is the big one I've been doing, but the breakfast analogy.
Nice. Oh, I seen part of that on your Instagram.
So I've dropped like little hints of this around.
That's awesome, man.
If we had a fans only page, they'd be able to see this, but since we don't have one yet.
Right. I always think about that. Like, have you guys ever thought about doing like a Patreon or something like that? Yeah,
we just like we're early yet. So, when we get 100, maybe we're just trying to wrap our heads around that.
We're like the poster boys of what not to do for a podcast.
It's like you always say that, Todd. I don't feel like a poster boy.
You guys are doing it great.
I'm gonna put your mug on a milk box.
Okay.
I would buy that. I would buy that. I would hang that on my wall. 100%. It's a relic.
No, but we have thought about that. Yeah. I'm sorry, Todd. Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you, man. I
think we'll do it.
We were trying to just get our numbers, our listenership to a point where, we can rationalize that, and then, talk about sponsorship possibly from different supplies providers or what have you.
Totally.
But one step at a time. We're just trucking right along. We just finally figured out, we're very comfortable in what we do.
Yeah, and you guys are doing great at it too. I've probably listened to a little handful of episodes since our talk. And yeah, you guys always flow really nicely. And I'm been engaged like front to back every time. So
nice.
Right on, man. It's great
to hear.
You guys
are doing it right for sure. That I have to mention fucking Ed Dwight. What in the world? That guy, what? I was mind blown. I was like almost in tears at one point, and but in the entire time I was just like, what the fuck? That guy is amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I couldn't believe the story where he goes into like his hangar and for one of the aviation club, or no, it was in the Air Force, and then the kid's crying, and he's like, "Oh, two guys in black coats came in, basically wanted me to kill you." Like, right. I was like, "What? This motherfucker?" He's like, "Oh my god, that needs to be a movie." I don't know why everyone doesn't know that man's name. He's amazing. He's an amazing human being.
I agree. And, there's so many amazing stories out there. I mean, I don't know, but you're right. Ed Dwight, like I always go back to that particular one. I kind of throw that out to people all the time because I'm like, why don't we all know who Ed Dwight is, And the fact that he's he's lived in Denver forever and he has the Denver connection and he's done all these amazing things in his life.
Yeah, the buildings too, like erecting, different structures and shit in Aurora and Denver and stuff. Wow, man.
Yeah, he's a genius. And
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say some of it was happenstance in the sense that, he was interested in flying. So he'd read these instruction manuals. And then when he took the test, it was the same test that was in the back of the,
and he's like,
been reading for years. Like
I
serendipity.
Can play this song.
Right.
Yeah. That shit. It's amazing. And the most amazing thing to me, one of his, something I, distilled down from listening to him is literally just the sound of his voice. He's happy as fuck. He's a happy guy. You can hear it. And you can tell he's probably always been like that, and that lends itself so well to meeting opportunities prepared is just, staying on your shit. And that sounds very close to what I was down talking, the positive vibes only thing, but I don't think that's what this is. I don't think he went through life ignoring the bad stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but the result of what he's done and how he is just, he's happy. You can hear it. You can hear it. And that makes a huge difference. That makes your life longer. It's good. It's good for your biology to feel that, I found that so inspiring.
Yeah. And the thing that blows me away about him, and this is, everybody should listen to his story. on our podcast, of course. But
100%. I've been sending it to people like, you have to fucking listen to this.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
But the key thing is be prepared and then frickin' produce, and that'll trump everything else that anybody's trying to throw at you.
100%. Just grind.
Just grind. Yeah.
Grind muscle.
And don't expect anything just handed to you. Fight for it. Work for it.
The world doesn't owe you shit. The world doesn't owe you shit.
Right.
You got to learn that. That'll like toughen your skin up. You just accept that. The world doesn't fucking owe you anything. You got to do the shit. You have to do it. You have to do it. Like people are like, what's the like secret to like painting? Like how are you doing this? Like, is it just practice? And they don't want to hear that that's the answer. It's like, you grind, you do the shit. You don't go to the party. You make the sacrifice to get the craft. You got to do it.
That's fantastic.
That's the end of the video or the podcast. No.
Well, okay. So here we are, right? Like I was going to ask, as my parting question for Richard, I was going to ask him what kind of advice he would impart to, people that want to aspire to be full-time artists. And you pretty much just summed it up right there.
Yeah.
You got to grind.
You got to grind. And the sacrifice is the thing, I have to have conversations, it seems like every week with people like, listen, I'm not avoiding you. I don't not want to hang out. I'm busy, And then one of my like little caveats I always throw in is like, I had this conversation with my mom last week because I do have that conversation. Like, Mom, I'm not ignoring your texts. I'm just busy. You have to make those sacrifices. Don't always feel good in the moment, because you want to show up for people and you want to and you should. But, most people, they go to their job, they clock out, and then that part of their brain turns off and they have their life. If you want to be a working artist, 99% of us don't clock out. Even when you're not working, it's churning. You're working. You're always working. You're taking stuff in. You're working. It's all work. You got to grind. You have to grind. And you have to be prepared for that. Like I've had, relationships that didn't work out, because painting is the other woman. I'm like, they won't even look at my fucking art. They don't care because it's like, oh, well, you're not hanging out with me. Fuck your painting. I had a girl frisbee a painting out my front door.
Oh my God.
No. What are you doing? Please no. But yeah, you got to be prepared. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it is rewarding and it's worth it because the first time that you do something with that money, get your groceries or get something you need. And you're like, damn, this is all because I, smoked a little bowl and doodled around and now I have food. There's nothing like that feeling, and it's addicting. So as soon as you get it, you're like, oh shit, I gotta do this again and again and again and again. And it's it's where being a working artist is where passion and obsession fuse. And it's hard to tell the difference, But yeah, that's my advice. Definitely. If you want to do it, do it. There's no secret. There's no special place you're going to go or person you're going to talk to. And it's all going to pop off unless you're lucky, You're not going to figure out some secret to producing that makes you make amazing work right away. You got to, slush through the trenches and learn and make mistakes and critique yourself, be hard on yourself a little bit. What would someone who doesn't like this piece say about it? Be that person while you're working, critique it. Yeah.
Leo Taguma, if you haven't heard that one yet, that dude made me cry a couple times.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I had to cut part of it out because he didn't want to be overly emotional. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so great. And yeah, he'll have you hooked in the first 5 minutes.
Okay. How do you spell his last name? It's Leo Taguma?
Yeah.
Tanguma.
Let me, what episode is he? Do you remember, Todd?
He was pretty early on. He might have been episode 8 or something like that.
Yeah, he's excellent. Muralist from Texas and did some stuff at the DIA airport. Oh,
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So his story.
Did you ever see that mural it's on, and I can't think of which floor it's on, but anyway, and I think, well, they were doing some work, so it wasn't accessible for a while, but if you've heard any of the DIA
conspiracy shit, yeah, okay.
His mural plays into the whole conspiracy thing. And then if you listen to him talk about it, you go, people are just freaking crazy, you know?
That is so crazy. So he did the one with the big skull soldier guy.
Yep.
The kids talking. No shit. I think about that piece all the time. Because of all the controversy around it, you know, it's like, yeah, you hear about the controversy way before you hear that man's name.
Yeah.
I will definitely have to check that out.
And the thought behind it. Yeah. He's an amazing artist, an amazing man. And
wow. And that's the one that you're saying gets all crazy emotional and shit too.
Well, he got us choked up for sure, but he also, you know, in talking in some of his stories, he got kind of choked up at times, and it was, it was a very emotional experience. And it was, I feel honored that he was willing to sit down, as I do with you, honored that he was willing to take time to, you know, spend a few hours, essentially a whole afternoon with us, and, you know, do the podcast. And then we got to see some of the work in his studio, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. I'm definitely going to check that one out as well.
He's episode 8.
Yep.
Oh, I was right.
It is officially 8. I just put 8 down. It's like,
it's officially episode 8. Okay. Way to go, Todd. Right. Way to know the podcast better than I do.
There you go.
Oh man, it was such a pleasure to spend time with you this afternoon. And you know, time is the most precious thing we have. You have young children, you have tons of work that you're busy with, and so I always appreciate it when someone's willing to give their time to us. So thank you so much, Richard.
Well, likewise. I really enjoy talking to you guys. You guys rule. I'm stoked on what you guys are doing. I'm thankful that you're giving me a little platform to talk about stuff. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Let us know when your book is ready to be published or is published, and we'll get you on and talk about it and promote you, because we'll be following you. So love your stuff.
Likewise. Yeah, we'll have this be a little mutual thing from now on for sure.
Perfect.
Love you guys. I just love supporting the local shit, dude.
Thanks, man.
I'm so happy you guys exist.
Right on.
Awesome.
Well, for the Tenant Podcast, on that note, those kind comments, this is Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.